And I was like, what a whiny old person to say.
Well, it's just because Miller has a lawyer.
That was great.
Figured out and make moved away from me.
All right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Town Council Quarterly Work Session for Monday, September 15th, 2025. Do we have any changes that we want to make to the agenda, the order? We're just going the order in which it's published. All right, first up, we got a discussion of library services.
Thanks, Mayor. So yeah, we have an IGA intergovernmental agreement with the city of Louisville currently for them to provide library services to residents of Superior. We have our own library space in the community center with some stacks and book lockers that people can drop off, pick up books, and they also provide programming at that space. And then we have a book drop off here as well. Over the years, there's been a couple times where we've looked into the possibility of opening or providing our own library services to residents. And so this discussion tonight is to provide some information to the council about what the cost would be, what it would look like if we did decide to provide our own library services, and just answer any questions that you might have. Emily, you want to introduce our guests?
So, good evening, everyone. Emily Clobber, town staff. Tonight we have Todd Frager, Mark Clemens, and Joe McAvoy from Library Systems and Services, and they will be presenting. And with that, Todd, go ahead and start up.
I think you wanted me to share my screen, I think.
Yeah.
So I can put up my presentation. Happy to do it.
Good, should be good to go.
Okay.
It's hard to hear. It sounds like it's just coming from over there.
Martin's going to go.
And hopefully everybody can see that.
Yep.
Yes, we can.
All right, excellent. Well, I appreciate your time tonight. I promise to be brief, to leave times for question and answers. I am Todd Frager, the CEO of Library Systems and Services. And what we're going to be covering tonight basically is a little overview of our organization. I'll make the assumption most of you are not familiar with Library Systems. So just to give you a little bit of background on who we are, what we do. We are a library company. It's all we do. It's our core competency. We've been in the business for 45 years. We're a company of librarians. We're in the federal library space, the public library space, and museums and event centers. But we are deep advocates for the libraries themselves, for the industry. We are missioned, and we always believe in the relevance and trying to look at libraries for the future and how we can continue to make sure that they innovate and stay creative for their communities, working closely with all of the priorities, all the stakeholders within the community. We know having a good, solid library is kind of table stakes for most communities. When people move into communities, they look at schools, parks, recs, and libraries. They expect to see a really strong library in their community. So our partnership, we do call it a partnership. It's a little different. I will say, to start out with, just for clarification, it's not privatization, because you'll hear that context sometimes when you work with a private company. The assets of the library, everything belongs to the town itself. What we provide is a turnkey managed services approach. So really it's about expertise and staffing. And when you start a library, should you consider to do that, there's a lot of work that goes into it. We've done it many times for many municipalities. We bring that expertise. We don't expect you all to be experts in the formation of a library. We are. So we work with the state of Colorado. We do all the paperwork. We help get a library off the ground with bylaws, strategic plans, all the documents necessary to create a library, as well as creating a library advisory board, help with the formation of that. But at the heart of it, we provide day-to-day managed services. We provide the turnkey approach to operating the library. But at the heart of it for us, it's really local control. When you talk about options, you look at different models that are out there to assist with operating a library. One of the things we often hear is the lack of local control, that when you join a consortium, along with that is there's the economic impact, but also the fact that you really don't have a lot of say as to what happens within your local library. Our model was built to solve that problem, to say, yes, you can be part of a large consortium. I'll talk about some of the benefits that come with that, but at the heart of it is the local staff and local control that happens within that library. We bring with us thousands of programs from around the country to help jumpstart what we want to see within the library. And we also give you kind of what I call a predictable model with our long-term contracts. You lock in on the price of the library for 5 to 10 years, so it's never in question in regards to budgeting and planning going forward. We meet the expectations based on the budget that we present. So we're able to bring innovation and creativity to the town at a fixed price. It is a partnership, and when you talk to our customers, we operate 84 libraries today around the country. The municipalities will talk about LS&S as an expert and as a partner. For this to work effectively, that's the heart of the model. So again, it's local control, local governance. It's working with the local town staff, working with elected officials. But at the heart of every great library is friends and volunteers, which we work tirelessly with those groups to help support the library locally, obviously working with the Library Advisory Board. But at the heart of it as well is outreach and community engagement. So we make sure that the library is really networked in with school systems, with local business leaders, and in Parks and Recs in particular. We work very closely with Parks and Recs in all of our systems and community services. It's a great partnership. I know your Parks and Recs department is providing quite a bit of programming today. We would complement that group and work side by side with them. This is just an example of some of the libraries we work with across the country. I think that what I would emphasize here is that we work with really large systems. We work with a county system in California, the 4th largest in the state of California. It's got 34 libraries, 2 museums, an event center. We do everything from that model all the way down to a single facility, which would be in your case, and everything in between. We work in urban settings, rural settings, all different types of environments throughout the country. We're very proud of our relationships with our customers and the stability and the long nature of those customers. In the county system that I mentioned, we've been with them since 1997 and renewed consistently throughout. I think a comparable example to what you're looking to do, when I pulled one, was Manassas Park in Virginia, where they're part of a county system. They were not happy with what they were being asked to pay year over year. They had really very little say as to the escalation of what the fees were going in to the county system, and they only had a small vote or voice within the parameters of the services being provided within that county system. So the city approached us and said, hey, we'd like to start our own library. So we met with them, we got them formed within the state of Virginia, got them set up. Originally they were in a golf course clubhouse, and we had our first library set up with them there until we grew and they grew into a town center, which they were building, which has retail, municipal space, as well as the library where it is today. So we've been with them for 5 years, helping them start from nothing to a really vibrant, active library in the community. And I think when I talk to them, what I appreciate most is, again, they'll emphasize our expertise and the partnership and just what we bring to the equation that allows them to operate a successful library. Our model itself is a little unique and different. We are a nationwide model, so the advantage of a nationwide model is we bring a lot of cost benefits to our individual members. So when we spend $7 million on materials for a library of any size, they get the same discounting, speed of effort, quality of materials that a $25 million library would receive, whether they're spending $50,000 or $100,000 on their materials. They get the benefit of size. So certainly that's a big advocate for that. But also, as I said, for us, for this to work, it's the local staff on the ground in Superior that's the most important element, but connecting that staff with our greater library staff of 900 librarians, so that for their professional development, for their personal and professional support, there's a whole network of people that are here to support them. Our model was built because we understand that all libraries, from an administrative perspective, are basically identical. And those services aren't as value add to the community as program and outreach, whereas we expect what you would contribute to this model to really be focused on those elements. Oh, sorry, went the wrong direction. So LS&S, again, we care deeply about our staff. We care deeply about the library space. We believe that strong libraries are critical for all communities to have. And we're passionate about our people. We've been doing it for 45 years. And we believe in staying with this industry for the long run. And we are experts. Again, as I've stated, I've covered most of this before. We're very proud of the retention of our customers. They renew year over year. And we're very excited for them to want to maintain these relationships. It matters a lot to us. And as I said, it's our core competency. We are a staff of librarians, and that's what we wake up every day focused on, so that the town staff can be engaged but not have to really be solely focused on what does it take if I did this in-house to operate a public library. So that's the end. I tried to give you the abbreviated 10-minute version because I know you're on a timeline, but I wanted to make sure we had plenty of time for any questions you might have. But I appreciate your time today.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation.
That was intense.
Sorry about that. Questions for Todd?
Yeah, quick question, Todd. I didn't see any Colorado municipalities on your list, but you did mention Colorado. Is there a community in Colorado? The reason I ask is, when we talk about fixed pricing for periodicals, I know with things like Libby and Hoopla, each library can choose how many rentals or checkouts a person gets per month. So Boulder County Library System gives you 4, Arapahoe gives you 10. There's obviously a cost issue there. How does that factor in, and what kind of variability, what kind of discretion does a library administrator have?
So part of the collection budgeting, looking at that process for us, is we look at lots of options. Like in Manassas Park, we looked at reciprocal borrowing as one option. So we have relationships with the neighboring library community. There's also a consortium that provides Libby and Overdrive within the state. So we joined that one as well. LS&S has our own relationship with Overdrive and other material vendors as well. So there's lots of different avenues. We just look for partnerships and reciprocal relationships. We'd have to do a little more homework within Colorado and within your neighborhood to see what those options might look like.
Okay. Thanks.
One question I had, and I don't know if this is a you question or is this something that we do on our own, but I know that there's, and forgive me, I'm not a member, so I don't know how this works, but there's like a consortium of libraries, and if you have a membership to, say, the Boulder Library, because they're part of that consortium, you can use Louisville Library and other libraries for free. Is that something that you would essentially get set up for us, or is that something that we have to set up outside of working with you to make sure we're part of that, so our residents can still utilize neighboring municipalities' libraries if they wish to do so?
So it's a partnership. I mean, I think legally you actually sign the document, but we work on your behalf to talk to those municipalities and relationships. We just did it in Virginia for a new library that we're working with. So we would do the work and talk to all those municipalities and relationships, but officially, normally it gets signed between the town and the other municipality.
Okay. And is that work, as far as you working on our behalf to get that set up, and then we obviously sign off on it, is that part of the pricing that you've provided?
It is, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, everything we quoted assumes turnkey, full setup of everything included in that price.
Thank you.
Do you have any thoughts on the current relationship that the town of Superior has with Louisville right now? We access their library and we're paying them for the privilege of doing so. Any thoughts on how much we're paying versus what we're getting? How familiar you are with what we're actually getting under the terms of that agreement?
So I'm not going to overextend myself as far as what I don't know. I know what I've read. I don't know if Mark has looked into it further.
Yeah. My understanding, I'll tell you that in just speaking with Emily and getting into your situation there was not so much that they didn't have things that you like, but just that, you know, you're paying quite a bit of money for them to basically run it the way they want to run it, and you have very little say and would like more say in how, you know, how the money, your community's money is spent. That you just have one member on the board is my understanding.
That's right.
So you have very little say in what actually gets done in the Louisville Library, where you're paying a decent chunk of money.
There was an escalation a couple years ago that was pretty significant, like a 25% escalation.
Yeah, well, it's tied to our property taxes here. So, you know, as the value of everybody's houses have been going up over the past several years, the amount that we're contributing on an annual basis has escalated considerably as well.
Well, and there is just from a comparative perspective for a town of your size and population, you know, it's sufficient enough money to not have to buy those services from a neighboring community and have people go there. We've taken a look at, you know, furnitures, fixtures, increased shelf space, opening day collections, and technology for the library. And we think, you know, kind of long-term, you know, if you'd like to have your own library, you definitely have the space for it. There's definitely options within your current tax threshold, property tax threshold, to do that. And, you know, we've given you several options. And one of them is to kind of start off a little smaller and figure out where to place that investment in terms of library services. Or you could extend that even further if you chose to do so over and above the tax budget. But there's, you know, there's definitely multiple models, and you know, we built 4. We showed you 3, but, you know, within there's everything in between. So you definitely have the sufficient revenue coming in to run a good community library with that as open hours that your patrons require, as well as a suitable collection and programming aligned with it.
Okay.
So,
And one of the things with that also is we come in and we talk to your constituents and your residents is exactly what they want, you know, in their library. That's where we start.
Yeah, inclusive in the fees is a community assessment, which really gets into the weeds of that, as well as building a strategic plan, a long-term strategic plan for the town and the library.
Can you share in your experience, so we have a system that's working now, and so if we were to transition to something like this, and since you've done this before, going from what we can offer now, how does it typically look? Does it tend to shrink in size and then get built up? It sounds like some of the details come into play after you start the process in terms of negotiating and relationship building with partnerships. So if you can share maybe some examples of where it went really well, and or actually some examples of where you've run into some issues. I'm trying to get an understanding of what we would need to express to our community in terms of expectations for how this will shrink and expand over a transition like this.
So yes, that's a great question. I think we were very transparent with the community as to what that transition looks like. In our experience, you know, we find that we really emphasize what is the majority of what the community is currently engaged in. So we take a long, hard look as to what are the services they are currently using, what are the materials that are highly circulating today, and we put an emphasis on making sure that we mirror that right out of the gate. Because in any facility, in any library, there's a decent amount of materials and activities that maybe aren't being used all that greatly right now anyway. So again, our goal is to make sure that what's the main priority for the community is being mirrored and on day one is available. And part of the process is throughout that transition period, assuming we said, hey, we're going to go down this path, we would spend months kind of doing that whole review and examination of the materials, of the electronic materials, of all the available avenues to bring them in. But even when we've gone from a system, somebody who was part of a county system, to their first time individual library, between borrowing relationships, interloan libraries and other tools that are out there, we haven't seen any real impact in regards to people who say, I want this book or I want this material. We're able to acquire it for them in any circumstance. There's no barrier to really getting that done. And the programming, again, we spent a lot of time focused on what is the programming the community really wants, what have they enjoyed. And on day one, like we had a library that started in the middle of summer reading. So we ensured that we took the summer reading calendar from the county system. And for that summer reading program, we mirrored it and started on day 62, exactly where the county was. So that way nobody in the community felt like there was a disruption of service.
Okay. Thanks.
Question for you, Matt.
Yeah.
We've asked a number of times over the past several years for information related to like the costs associated with providing the services to Superior from Louisville, just so we can kind of better understand how the money that we're contributing is being spent.
Correct.
Do we ever get any of that information?
I met with the new Cultural Services Director, Randy Cummings, 2 weeks ago, and asked her for that information, and she was going to try to get it to us before tonight, but I didn't receive anything, so I'll have to follow up with her. We got some preliminary data when the former city manager was there, but nothing that was finalized.
I think the old data basically said we're like 20% of the checkouts,
Yeah,
give or take.
always show us at 20%.
Always right about what our budget contribution
Right,
is.
yes.
Imagine.
So, but I'm interested to see what she provides
Yeah.
to us, since she's just a couple months on the job.
Did I understand this from looking at the contract? Would we have to end ours and then start this, and then once this opened, then it would be terminated? Did I read
We
that?
had, per the IGA, we have to give them 6 months notice,
Right,
so.
so we would want to.
The thought would be, if we were to go this route, we'd give them the 6 months notice and start services beginning in 2027. Give us time to put the program together and the space and everything that's needed.
But the two scenarios being laid out, we do it ourselves or we use LNS, are both more expensive than what we contribute to Louisville right now. Have we checked Broomfield or Lafayette in terms of their aptitude? And the reason I ask that is, I mentioned Arapahoe. Arapahoe is a county level library. So it goes across the entire county. They have like a dozen different branches, and it's not one little community like Fort Logan that's contributing and trying to staff all this up. It's the benefit of scale, right? And that's where if we're Broomfield, we get a lot more scale than we do with Louisville. And if we got a $500,000 check, I'm sure Broomfield would be like, come on in. And there's a lot to be said, with economies of scale.
We haven't recently.
Okay.
When we first entered into the IGA with Louisville, we did talk to other cities.
15 years ago.
And they told us, go talk to Louisville. So that's what we did. But not recently. No.
Yeah, we share a longer border with Broomfield than we do with Louisville.
Okay.
I mean, I guess my overall opinion is I really value access to the Louisville Library, and I think a lot of our residents really appreciate having it. I think for a number of years when all we had was a Dropbox here at Town Hall, I don't know if we were necessarily really getting our money's worth in terms of the relationship and the amount that we were paying pursuant to the IGA. But now that we have limited selection at the community center and then the ability to actually have books delivered there for pickup, I know that that's really, really appreciated by the community, right? The drop-off is one thing, but picking up is huge. So I wouldn't want to do anything just in general that would negatively kind of like impact from a user's perspective what people are used to expecting, right? So like I would only support making a change if we could get what we're already getting or exceed it at a lower cost versus what we're paying. But I'm not thrilled with kind of the structure that we have currently and the lack of really transparency on how much it actually costs to run the library versus what we're contributing and what the costs are attributable to Superior users. So, I mean, I feel like we're kind of in the dark as to like how to really assess what the relationship is and whether we're actually getting our money's worth, because it just seems like we are paying a lot, and that's just going to continue to increase as. So I would much rather have like a structure where we're paying for the services that are actually being provided, rather than just tying it to like arbitrarily to the mill levy. But that's what we've got on the books right now.
And Mark, to your point, looking at over the last 19 years, and yeah, there's some really big up years and some negative years, but on average, it's an 8% annual increase.
Which is tied to property values.
Right. So to your point, I mean, could we be getting more value for the money that we're spending? And I would love to explore that conversation. And my next question, I don't know if this is for LS&S or Matt, but the spreadsheet, it says the estimated cost for in-house versus or at the existing community center space. What square footage does that assume? Does that just assume the existing footprint, or is that some larger footprint within the community center?
That's a good question. Emily, did you?
Yeah, it's for the existing footprint.
Yeah. And so taking over library services, we would need 3 full-time staff plus 2 part-time staff to manage those operations.
That's our estimate, yeah.
Okay.
And it'd be good, just to compare what that, what's the head count at the Louisville Library?
That was my next question.
Yeah, because you just bring up a really good question.
Are we getting that same level of service now?
Yeah, I don't know their staffing level. I don't know, Emily, do you know their staffing level?
I think it's in their budget.
Yeah.
I would imagine too, for the square footage, you look at the little footprint for that sliver that's library right now in the community center. We're not gonna have those lockers at that point, and that's just dead space. Why wouldn't we use, basically when you walk through that partition into where there's the miners, conference room, obviously keep the conference room, but I would make that whole area the library, because at that point, you don't have lockers, and it's just dead space.
Right.
And offer more books. To Mike's point, I ran the numbers on the last 10 years for both the 3% escalation if we did a 10%, or I'm sorry, a 10-year contract, starting at 458.7, which is that, higher service level. By the end of that 10 years, it's about $17,432 as far as the 3% increase by year 10. If you look at the average over the last 10 years, and again, there were ups and downs, some were quite up, the average was about $20,540 year over year. So we'd be paying less if we just did it ourselves. And for me, and that's my question regarding that consortium, because I know my assistant at work is big into libraries, and she was telling me, if you go to the Boulder Library and you get a library card, you can use all the libraries within that system, and Louisville is one of them. So to me, it feels like, well, then they would still have the option to go to Louisville. We have the autonomy to have our own library services and not be tied to these arbitrary agreements that don't really make a whole lot of sense. Because we've got a couple with Louisville that I think probably should be looked at, and this is one of them. So instead of shipping over $500,000 a year to Louisville for services that we may or may not be getting, have that in-house, and then because we'd be tied to that system, then if we make sure we sign up for that, then they could use Louisville, Boulder, whatever they wanted anyway.
Okay, I think the missing link tends to be you would have to go to the Boulder facility to get it, right? Like what we have from Louisville, which is really good, as Mark alluded to, is they will deliver the books here. That's been incredibly popular because I've got 3 libraries. So one of the gains for librarians in the state is try to get as many library cards as you can, because the state law changed to where anybody who's a Colorado resident can get a library card in any library district. So I've got 5. there's like 20, so I got a long way to, I gotta get to Durango. That's gonna be the hard one. The point being is if you have that card, then you get entire access to all the electronic media, but if you want the printed media, that library needs to have a relationship with yours, and that's where some of this stuff starts falling apart unless we have some sort of IGA with potentially Boulder to deliver the books here. And I think that, if we got a $500,000 check, these organizations would be more willing to talk to us than 15 years ago when we did this, it was a $300,000 check. And maybe it'll pass or maybe it won't. I mean, the history here was pretty bad where, Louisville started cutting up all the library cards and we all like rushed to the ballot box and said, okay, I want my library. But they can't do that anymore.
Well, 15 years ago it was $125,000 was what our mill levy was, right? So now we're at 450 and approaching 500.
Yeah.
So it's substantial, but I do like the idea of, I want to preserve like the services that we have, right? Like, and delivery of books is definitely one of them. But if we can get more for our money, I'm always willing to entertain a different relationship with somebody else. If somebody else wants their $450,000, because the other kind of wrinkle in all of this is we have a mill levy that is established that does not sunset and needs to be used for library. So like even if we got a screaming deal on library services for $300,000 a year or something like that, and then we had $200,000 left over, it's not like we could reapportion that money for other purposes.
But we could reduce taxes.
Sure.
We can go back to the voters and ask them to lower their taxes, which I think they would probably be in favor of.
Actually, we might not need to ask that, right?
No, I think
we could just do a mill levy credit, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, that's fair, yeah.
I mean, I think trying to find a way to spend less money is always a winner.
And I think that Todd's point earlier, just to address your issue, there in today's day and age with, the availability of physical books through interlibrary loan and some of our national agreements, getting books delivered to the library, via postal or delivery is, maybe just as easy as getting them delivered from Louisville. So, it's something that we find quite common where people need to tap into our interlibrary loan agreements, and we're able to provide those physical materials as well. And I think what you'll see over time is we take a really good look at data, so we don't oversubscribe to physical inventory. So what you'll see is, patron may come in and say, hey, I really like James Patterson. And we may say, great. And then, we've got allocations in our budget that's it's demand driven. And ultimately, you end up saving money over time because you're not buying things that don't circulate. So we've taken a very good approach to that. We do have that centralized collection management team that works hand in hand with the local staff to make sure that you've got the physical materials that you want on hand and that they're available should they not be in inventory at the time.
How long does it take to get those if something's not in inventory and a resident says that they need a book? Whereas now we have the lockers, how long would it take you to get that book for that resident?
Normally, depending on which system we're using, it can be 24, 48 hours.
Okay.
Do we have any idea on kind of the breakdown of the services that our residents are using? Like, is it 50% access to the actual hard copy books? Is it 25% ebooks, Overcast, New York Times subscriptions, access to the actual space?
Yeah, information we received in the past was mainly about circulation and library cards. What I was told is they don't track programs, participants that come for like story time or things like that. But that's what I'm hoping to get in this data information.
Yeah, because before we make any decision, I really want to understand kind of what's important to our residents in terms of like how they use the library. Like if none of them are going to Louisville because the books are being delivered here, so they don't need to go there to pick up the books, and they're not going there for study time or anything like that because they can use the community center. That kind of eliminates some of the niceties of the library. Like if it's truly just kind of access to books, the electronic, getting books on your Kindle, things like that. It would just be interesting to know like what is actually really important to the residents who are using. I mean, I know like myself, like I never take out the physical hard copy books, but I get books on my Kindle all the time. I use the New York Times access all the time. So like those are the things that are useful to me, but my kids like
We're all
physical.
books, yeah.
My kids like the physical books.
Yeah, we're like half and half. But, I think early on, a lot of the sort of read to rover and, read with little kids were incredibly popular at Louisville. Like people would go over there with their kids all the time. I don't think that's changed. 2-3 times a week. But I did pull up, Louisville's operating budget for the library is $2 million a year and another $350,000 in capital. So, what we're talking about here is about half. Their staffing is $1.5 million a year of the operating costs, right? It's the other $500,000 everything else. So, just rough numbers.
Yeah. And then the library itself, what did that cost?
That's the $350,000 of operating.
Yeah, but
building.
But when they actually built it,
oh yeah, that's
I don't know what the
buried
bond is
somewhere
for
else.
that, yeah. I'm sure there's some debt that they're servicing on that.
I don't know the amount, because.
Okay. Well, I think that this is a really good starting place for a conversation about kind of a future direction for the town to go in. I like the idea that we're trying to see how best to spend the mill levy dollars that we're collecting in a way that kind of gets greatest bang for our buck.
Yeah, we'll continue to collect data, get data from Louisville, provide that to you, and then we can have follow-up conversations.
All right.
Prior to the end of the year.
Great. Well, thank you for being here tonight for the presentation, Todd, Joe, and Mark, and we will continue this conversation, and we look forward to seeing what we can find out and see if we can get something that works for everybody.
Sounds good.
Thank you for your time.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Having.
Thank you.
All right, we are on to item number 2, which is the discussion of the e-bike regulations and ordinance.
This one's like the easiest thing on the agenda, right?
Easiest.
So you like e-bikes or libraries?
I'll take libraries. Please.
And we got Sergeant Solomon here tonight again.
And Nick.
And Nick.
Uh-oh. Cops and the lawyers. It's a great combination.
Where's the popcorn?
So as we all know and understand and see on a daily basis, right, e-bikes, e-motorcycles, all that is becoming a huge problem in all communities. So one of the things we're trying to address is creating an ordinance so that we can start enforcing some of these things. I think the difficult part about e-bikes, e-motorcycles is really about enforcement. We had yet another kid run from us 2 days ago on an e-bike, which they're already dangerous, and now they're putting themselves in a more dangerous position, putting the public more in danger because they're screaming down the paths that we can't drive down. But what if a kid is crossing or an adult? We had an unfortunate e-bike accident with a juvenile with an adult, where the adult got hurt pretty bad. So this is really a starting point, and we've been pushing a lot of education through social media. The town has done a great job. We put together another video that's going to be released about e-bikes. So really trying to attack it from all angles, but really I think the ordinance is a good first step because it will help with the education piece as well as enforcement.
The proposed ordinance, I didn't see any kind of mention about usage on sidewalks there? And is that something that might
Yeah,
need to be added?
I think that's probably a good discussion for you guys. I left it out on purpose. E-bikes, I think under model traffic code aren't allowed on sidewalks. You can allow them on sidewalks, or you can stay silent on it. And I have it just kind of going back to multi-use paths or trails or streets. So right now it would be assumed that they're not allowed on sidewalks, although I don't think I expressly said you could not ride them on sidewalks. I didn't expressly say you can't ride them on sidewalks, so that would be a policy direction.
Yeah, so when I read it, I viewed the silence as permission.
Yeah.
So I think with all of this, one of the challenges is just it's the Wild West for this new technology, and people just don't know what they can and cannot do, so they're just doing. So I think more direction versus less is probably a good idea.
Which way you want to go?
I mean, I think from what I've read elsewhere, it seems like the class 1 and class 2 are permitted on sidewalks. Class 3 need to be on the road. And so I think that seems like a good line to draw.
That's easy.
Subject to the fact that it still needs to be at a safe speed, right? You can't be zipping 20 miles an hour when people are walking their dogs.
Yeah.
Kind of along that line, I saw that it would be 15 miles an hour on any multi-use path or trail that would allow bicycles. So does that mean we would need to post speed limits on our trails, just so that?
And everyone else, well, I shouldn't say everyone else, Louisville and Lafayette both do. Lafayette had, I think, speaking a little bit more from personal experience, I live in Lafayette. I think Coal Creek Trail had a lot of success. I know Louisville just passed their e-bike ordinance a couple meetings ago. They just put signs up. I've gotten pictures from friends of the signs who are not, necessarily trail riders, and I've seen them. So, yeah, there are signs. You'd have to put them up, and I think they are really useful.
And Boulder's had signs for decades, for all bikes.
Probably so.
Yeah. Yeah. E or on E, there's a limit.
And a question for Sergeant Solomon. With the absence of, or the silence of something in code, would that present more challenges to deputies that are trying to issue a citation or warning if somebody's actually read the code? So, well, that actually doesn't say anything about that, so therefore I have permission to do this. Or would it be easier to be more explicit, recognizing that listing everything is impossible, but for the big areas of where we might see conflict, would it be easier to be more explicit so your deputies could say, actually, it does say that?
Yeah, it would be.
Okay.
It definitely makes it easier on them because, our deputies are unique because they have multiple ticket books in their car. They have a Superior Municipal ticket book. They have a state ticket book, and then they have county ordinance. And so for them to understand 3 different sets of code, the more you have in one, the better.
Thank you.
I know as a cyclist, if it doesn't say I can't do it, there's a good chance that I'm gonna try to do it, so. I'm just being honest. It's just, like, so I, in this particular case, with the reason that we're doing this is because we want the safety for kids that are not equipped and skill set to manage the speeds that they're going and the spaces that they're in. I would want it to be more prescriptive. And if we find that we went too far, then we can always walk some of the stuff back, but we can't undo an injury or something because it wasn't listed, so.
Yeah, and actually, I think in addition to the kids, it's the parents of the kids.
Yeah.
So that they are aware that there are some actual guidelines. And I think that's continues to be the black hole in this.
I think we need to be also clear about what we're doing here and what we're not doing. So like the proposed ordinance that we're talking about tonight that we would be considering at a future meeting only deals with e-bikes, and we're only talking about class 1, 2, and 3 e-bikes. This is not dealing with the e-dirt bikes, the e-motorcycles, the e-scooters, right? all of which are covered by state law. And the reason why we're not putting something separate on the books with regards to the motorcycles, the dirt bikes, e-scooters is because state law already sufficiently covers those things. So it's just a question of enforcing what's on the books with regards to that versus class 1, 2, and 3. There needs to be some additional municipal ordinance to help the sheriff's office do its job. Now, one question that I have for you, Sergeant Solomon, just as a kind of practical consideration, are you able to tell when a kid's riding a class 1 versus a class 2, class 3, without like actually like going up and like physically inspecting the bike?
No. And in 2018, I believe it was, Colorado passed a law that's stating all electronic e-bikes, e-motorcycles all had to have wattage and what level they were stamped on them. So I've been surveying that, and I haven't seen a single one with those on them. So it makes it even more difficult, right? So now you're having to look up the brand and the model and say, okay, this is how many watts it is. It's really a level 2, or it's a level.
That's a state law?
It's a state law, yes.
So what are the grounds for like impoundment if you don't have the proper decal?
That's enforcement on the bike companies, and something that we couldn't, we can't go after A&E Electrical out in California because they didn't put a stamp on because it got shipped to Colorado. You know what I mean? Saying, so it's a higher level than what would come from the sheriff's office.
So, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I know that there was a pushback on doing any sort of registration with the class, and that didn't seem like it was practical. Can we still require them to be registered for like a $5 or $10 fee? Like the fee is, it doesn't matter, but get stickers that we can then put on them that very visibly shows that it's registered and what class it is? Like do some sort of like color system where it's like green, yellow, red, and you see a red and you're like, well, that's a class 3 and it should be on the sidewalks. Is that doable or no?
Legally, you can't do it for low power scooters. I think you could for class 1, 2, and 3 e-bikes, just like any, like Boulder has a bike registration program, but I'd want to look into it to make sure we don't preempt state law. That's why you can't do it for low power scooters, because there's a state registration scheme.
Okay, but maybe that's a way we can
Maybe
make it easier for you to see, just like right away, clearly it's registered and this is what it is, or it's not registered at all and it should be.
And the other part is by virtue of paying your $5 or $10 fee, you're attesting to the fact that I know where I can ride this thing.
Yeah.
And I know how to ride it safely.
Yeah.
It's like the registration.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If the parents got to drag that bike in,
Yeah, I
there,
was
they
gonna say
see,
the parents are
like,
part
oh,
of
it. Yeah.
wait, what did I buy?
So for the purposes of discussion, let's hypothetically say that this ordinance comes back before the council for consideration sometime in 2025. Have we contemplated putting money in the 2026 budget for trail speed limit signs on trails and other things?
Not currently in there.
Okay. That's something we'd want to consider prior to adopting the budget.
Yeah, we're going to move forward with this. That's something we work with finance and parks on.
And just making sure that Berlin has an ordinance that denotes speed limit, that we're able to get that information out so that deputies encounter somebody that's going over the speed limit, they can say, well, there's a posted speed limit sign back there, and you blew right past that.
So what if I have a class 2 bike and I don't register it and I'm riding it and I'm not speeding? I mean, who's gonna make me go register it?
Yeah, and that's a big challenge, right? There's lots of case law and legislation around impoundment of vehicles, impoundment of property, taking away people's Fourth Amendment rights. We're having a lot of discussions right now with the attorneys about vehicles that are unregistered, uninsured, about state law is saying that you can't impound the car based off of a crime that could potentially be committed. So you know they're not driving with a valid license. So you tell them you got to park it. You can't drive, have somebody else that's registered come pick it up. But we can't impound it because we know that we're gonna leave and he's gonna hop in it and go. So it's, that kind of ties in with e-bikes and registration, and okay, so if it is unregistered, that would have to be written in the ordinance for the registration, right, of what the penalty of that is. But then taking away somebody's property because of that is really the best enforcement action, because if you're gonna lose your bike if you don't register it, if you get caught, versus you get a $50 ticket, whatever. I'll pay my $50, I'm not gonna pay the $10 registration. It took them 2 years to catch me the first time, so why would I do it this time? So a lot of challenges and a lot of things that we're fighting through right now when it comes to that aspect.
And let's just say half the people in Superior have an e-bike. Probably more. All of those people are gonna register their bikes now?
10%.
So I just don't want to make something that isn't going to happen. Like, I don't want to waste anybody's time. I don't want to make the entire community mad because we've just made these bikes that they've been riding for years now a thing they have to deal with registration. So I'm just talking through kind of, what does this look like? Like, what is the intent here, right? And I don't think it's to have 47-year-old me on my e-bike going down the path to, you know, that I've registered. It's to keep kids safe that are out driving in the streets that have no driver's education, or from speeding on the sidewalks where people are walking. And so I just don't know that that's not the direction for me. It's more like that we have a basic policy of like what's allowed, but that we're also working with the schools, and we're working on things like I forgot what it's called now, the night out, the national night out. We're incentivizing these things where you want to build a structure that they want to acknowledge what they're writing, and they want to know the skills of what they're writing because they get access to something, or they get, you know, like a sticker. I don't know what it is, but I think there has to be a multi-component to this. It isn't just what we decide to do here. And I would just hate for it to be so restrictive that it just makes everybody angry, that they just are resistant to the entire thing. I don't think it's gonna have the impact that we're looking for.
Right, and I think the intent behind registering e-bikes, in my opinion, is, the intent is great, right? That we can easily identify who it is. A pedestrian that almost got struck with one could go, yep, the tag number was ABC123, right? And then we can retroactively, so I think the intent is good, but you're exactly right with the registration and trying to, not only the cost of doing that and staff and all that to get that registration done, but then on top of that, how many people are really going to do it? And is it just gonna make people irritated? Now, the other thing that we could, I haven't looked into this on the electric bike side. I looked way back a long time ago. We used to do bike registrations. And we would do bike registrations so that if your bike got stolen, we kept your serial number, so then we could say, oh, here's your serial number, and do it. There's a program that CU uses, Boulder uses, that's all electronic. I haven't looked to see if they would register electric bikes. Oh, okay.
So Boulder's registration is not codified, as he's explaining. So like, it's not like a site tag for a dog. You don't have to do it by ordinance. It's just a program they offer. So actually, Boulder doesn't even have bike registration, required bike registration.
So maybe an optional one.
And so, yeah, that's what I was thinking, is make that an optional. If we
Students
can,
opt into
Yeah.
that.
Oh, yeah,
As soon as
'cause-
they get to campus, it gets like promoted to them because their bikes are everywhere, and they're like, if maybe when your bike gets stolen, you would like us to have this on record. And so that's an incentive and a benefit to them versus a restriction, right?
I guess my thinking with the registration is, you know, what is the problem that we're trying to solve here? And, you know, we already have a mechanism under state law with regards to the e-motorcycles, the e-dirt bikes. They're already required to be registered and insured, and you need to have a driver's license and a motorcycle endorsement on that driver's license. And that's not being done, right? So like creating an additional registration mechanism in the town of Superior that won't get followed isn't going to solve the problem, right? When there's already something that isn't being followed under state law. So I guess the question that I have for you, Sergeant Solomon, is in terms of kind of the scope of the problem, like are the class 1, class 2, class 3 bikes a problem? And if so, how much of the problem are they? Or is it the problem really the e-motorcycles, the e-dirt bikes?
Or gas.
Gas powered, yeah. I would say half the problem is e-bikes and e-bikes alone, and the other half are the e-motorcycles. The reckless nature that we've seen these kids riding on the paths, on the streets, even with the e-bikes that only go 20 miles an hour, the class 2s, it's definitely a problem. I think the larger problem is the e-motorcycles because they go faster and they're even more dangerous. But I think there's a problem across the board on both styles.
You gotta start somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think one of the problems is, and we talked about this previously, just the idea of like communicating to the public and getting the word out and educating the public and trying to let them understand what it is that they actually have purchased for their kids and that's in their garage. Like, do you know that your kid is not legally like allowed to ride this thing until at least age 16, provided that they have a driver's license and all the other requirements. But I think that one of the problems is that when we're sending out the messaging, we're kind of diluting it because there's too much information, because there's like class 1, class 2, class 3, like, and then people are like, all right, whatever, they just gloss over.
Because then they go out and go like, well, what kind do I have?
Yeah. So I mean, I think what I would recommend we do, in addition to moving forward with this ordinance, which I think is a good idea, is do some targeted communication specifically on the e-motorcycles / e-dirt bikes, and just on that issue. Whether we do a mailer, e-blasts, messaging in all of the above, Sentinel, Police Superior, and just say like, hey, if your kid is under 16, they can't ride this thing. If they're over 16, they need to be licensed, insured, registered. And if you are permitting this to happen, there could be potential liability for you, as well as you're basically giving the kid the keys to your car to your kids, and then just saying, well, out of sight, out of mind, it's not my problem because they're no longer at the house, right? They've driven off. It's totally equivalent to that, in my opinion, and super dangerous. And I think that upping the enforcement on that, and so like if that's a question of like, maybe we need to budget for some additional like temporary enforcement to try to do some like kind of targeted like sting operations for a period of time to like raise awareness, in addition to some additional communication. But I think that, like, in my opinion, that's the real problem that needs to be solved sooner rather than later, because somebody's going to really get hurt.
I don't even think it's a sting. I think it's just hang out by the entrance, the bike paths of the schools. Like, there's one zipping across my neighborhood every morning at like 7:54 on his way to LI.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But it's like, how many cops can you have in different places each day, each morning? But selective targeting of these things, and I think, like you said, some additional patrols in what we're like 3 weeks in the school year. So,
well, you do like DUI checkpoints, right?
Yeah.
Where you can do
yeah, I mean, 88th Street's the only way to get to Mumbai.
Right. I mean, you could just set a checkpoint on the way to school, and
We should be asking parents to ride their kids' bikes too. Like, they don't know what they have,
right.
and they should get on them and see how fast they can
They're
go.
probably too scared to.
They're probably scared to.
They don't have a motorcycle endorsement either.
That's the gap though that I don't know how to address, is they don't know. I don't think anybody knows. I mean, there's some, I'm sure, that know, but I think the majority of them don't know what they've given their kid. And they don't see it, and the kid, of course, doesn't ride the wheelies with no helmet in front of their house. They do it like down the street. at night in the dark while they're
Right.
wearing black with no lights on. And so I don't think the parents, I don't think they know. And so that's the gap that I want to close, is like, how do you get them to like check into this and realize like what they're doing? And I don't know that's going to come from
So
the
based on
enforcement
the
side of it.
scenario the mayor kind of presented where maybe raising awareness or potentially holding the parents accountable for, and the question for Sergeant Solomon is there an equivalent law enforcement issue that you come across or your deputies come across on a regular basis where it's a similar nature, where the parents have taken an action that enables their kids to do something that maybe the parents aren't aware, but the parents probably should be held accountable for what they're providing to is there some other scenario where we could take whatever lessons learned there and apply that?
Well, there are parents that are being prosecuted for having their kids having access to guns that are used in school shootings. So, I mean, you're liable for your children.
I can't think of anything other than the gun thing right off the top of my head. You know, of course, the biggest thing that we run into holding parents accountable is probably the contributing to the delinquency of a minor. That I'm going to have a party at my house and provide the alcohol. You know, that's probably the biggest one we run into where it's a parent-kid issue. So,
Would that be relevant in this case where your parents are contributing to the delinquency of a minor by giving them a vehicle that they shouldn't have access to?
Why not?
potentially, yeah.
Okay.
And there's definitely some prosecution conversations that I need to have to see if that's even a possibility.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure there are lawsuits being filed right now where the parents are being named because the kid is driving, you know, an e-bike that they're not legally allowed to ride, that they received from the parents for the birthday or Christmas or whatever, and then they got into an accident and somebody got hurt. I mean, the lawyers are gonna be all over that.
Yeah, I think the difference with alcohol and guns is the case law is like 100 years old, right? You know, guns and alcohol have been around for a very long time. You know, kids driving drunk last 30, 40 years. These e-bikes, I actually feel bad for a lot of parents. They have no idea what their kids are getting, right? You buy your kid a gun, you're pretty sure you know what that can do. You've taken them to the range, probably. Buy your kids some drinks, you know what that's going to do to them because plenty of history. E-bikes, see it at Costco, hey, this looks like a great way for you to get to school.
Bicycle,
Yeah.
right? You know,
It's got a little pedal assist.
I don't have to give you a ride anymore.
Yeah. Oh, and Mohai is a disaster to try to get in and out of, so.
Ignorance of the law is no defense though, right?
I agreed.
It's illegal under state law for kids under 16 to be riding these things.
Yeah, but I mean, I think some of them don't even know that it's a motorcycle, right?
just personally, as someone who has their motorcycle endorsement, it pisses me off.
Right, same
Kids
here.
are out here riding.
Do you know how hard it is to get
It's
to the
very hard to get this thing.
And I'm never gonna give it up.
I think 3 years from now,
Yeah, it'll be-
we're gonna look back and be like, that was a crazy time. Remember when everybody was riding these things
For
and
so
it
many
was,
reasons.
you know, yeah, no, it was the Wild West and so like I think we're in this kind of like unique period of time where like municipalities just like us are
we gotta step up.
stepping up the enforcement actions because kids are gonna get killed. And innocent pedestrians are gonna get, I mean, so the example that you were giving before with the pedestrian was hit, was that an e-bike or e-motorcycle?
E-bike. I think it was a class 2, and it was actually against another pedal bicycle.
Oh, jeez.
That feels worse.
Yeah.
So, and I guess the other thing too, just to reinforce the fact that this isn't my one and only tool in my tool belt that I'm counting on, right, to help with this. I'm working with BBSD security staff. How can we work together? How can we do education? You know, can we do PTA events? We're trying to design an attachment that goes on to these e-motorcycles and class 3s that we can go to the schools, zip tie it to it. Hey, from the Boulder County Sheriff's Office, and this is illegal for you to ride on the street without this, this, and this. And do it with a zip tie where it doesn't do any damage, but they actually have to cut it off. And then, God, the cops are putting this on my bike, Mom. It's ridiculous, right? Just trying to do anything with some other further education. And then also, thirdly, working with Louisville and doing a kind of enforcement day. We've had some conversations about, maybe we can upstaff a particular week and really hammer down 88 and get some of them off the street.
I was at Louisville Middle School last week at 3:45 when the school let out, and thinking that we had a problem here in Superior, like, oh my God, they have a tremendous problem there.
It's so bad.
It is
Like
Main Street is every which way, no regard to traffic laws at all. I was just stopped in the middle of the road while it was just like chaos was going on around me. I was just like, I'm gonna just not move until all these kids get out of the way, but they're all on e-motorcycles, all of them.
Motorcycles or bikes? I mean, middle school.
No, they're on e-motorcycles. I mean, there were some of them on e-bikes and some scooters, but I would say 50% of the kids were on e-motorcycles.
These are kids under 16?
These are middle school
kids.
Oh,
They're
sorry,
like
okay.
12.
Yeah, they're like 13 years old.
Is there a possibility from the county sheriff's side of things to have classes available for these? I don't know, I mean, for the kids to have like a defensive driving or, but like how you ride your bike on the street with traffic and, because they're out there doing it anyway. And these things can obviously like curb some of the illegal uses, but even on the class 1 and class 2 bikes, if you've got middle schoolers that have not taken a driving course and they're driving on the road and they're all over the place, like,
Driver's ed doesn't even start until 15.
I know.
Yeah, and I think that's the difficult part. It goes back to kind of the registration, right? How many people are going to really register their bikes? How many parents are actually going to send their kids to a bike class to learn how to ride on the road? That would probably have to happen on the backside in the judicial system, at sentence, if there was something like that available. Look, you're riding poorly, so therefore you have to take this class. Just like when the kids get too many speeding tickets, right? You got to go take a live at 25, and these are the classes through the judicial system. I think that's probably more applicable than trying to create a class and have it done that would have very little participation, because again, it's the parents that say, well, there isn't a problem, my kid rides fine. And I don't have to go pick them up from soccer practice and ride his e-bike or e-motorcycle.
All right, well, I'm glad that we're having this conversation. I'm glad that we're moving it forward with this ordinance. I think that's a step in the right direction. I think the additional enforcement that we've been talking about is probably a good idea. And then I still think that we need to really up our communications on this and really try to educate parents so they understand. There's going to be a lot of parents that are like, oh man, I have a $2,000 bike that I bought my kid that he or she can't legally ride. But that's
sitting in the garage for a couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, that's the.
Can we do like a funny video or something? I mean, I'm half joking, but I'm serious. Like, people don't read, they don't look at stuff, but they sure love like a quick viral video of, overstating what not to do and, saying things that are ridiculous. And I don't know if it's worth working with the comms team and the police to try to put something together that is seasonal.
Put Berna on your motorcycle.
Yeah, I would totally do that.
Give my kids
Like,
the keys to my car.
We're
And just
riders.
Yeah, we can do some wheelies in the parking lot.
I think that they would share it with each other and be laughing, but also like, oh, this is, I can't say that I don't know, right? And have it be something that's developed towards the holiday season of like, we all know they're going out to buy these bikes for the holidays, and so it could even be like a holiday of like, here's what we're not going to do. So I don't know, it'd be worth doing something like that. I'm happy to put a kid on a motorcycle.
Illegal stuff that you shouldn't be buying your kids for Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, that would be hilarious, and people would watch it, and they would be like, oh, maybe we shouldn't do that. That's probably a bad idea. I don't know.
I like it.
give the comms team one more thing to do.
Yeah.
All the PPE you wear when you get on a motorcycle.
Yeah, Verna has it all. I mean, I will suit my kid up and put her on a bike if it gets us to have people watch the video. But I think we could have some fun with it, with people they know, like they see us, they know us, you especially. Just doing something that's like shareable, like worthy and humorous, but like hits the point of, don't do this. Like, this is ridiculous. You know, it's like put a little kid behind a giant truck wheel with keys and, you know, like drive the point home about, you got him this far.
With
now
a
you're gonna give him
six-pack and a pack of
machine.
smokes.
Like, seriously. Like, we could have a lot of fun with it, but it would be shared widely, I think, and make the point as well. And also at the end, it could be like, seriously though, if they get caught on these, you're getting the ticket, not the kid. So, I don't know.
Matt, does the town have a TikTok account?
What?
I think
We do.
I have to double check.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Allison's made some TikToks.
Well, the reason why I'm asking is because I know
Is it TikTok?
teenagers
Or
spend
Instagram.
a lot of time on
Reels.
TikTok, and
They're Reels.
if that's,
Oh, yeah.
if that's an avenue to,
I believe
for Jen's video to get out, then,
Yeah.
because so 2 weeks
With the
ago, we were
cups.
having elections, and one that was running for communications got up and talked about the 30 hours a week they spend watching TikTok videos. 30 hours a week.
Yeah.
Did you see that video? I shared it with the police that were talking about back to school, and they were using all the language of the kids, and it was terrible, but it was hilarious. And it came from like a small town in like Pennsylvania or something. It wasn't even, but it had been shared widely. But it made the point of, you know, don't drive through school zones too fast and,
Right.
you know, pay attention to what's going on. So, and we could do something like that. In addition to having
Yeah.
policy and ordinance that holds people accountable for this.
Like with this, all messaging is good messaging. I don't think we can do
Is it?
too little.
Oh, on this particular
On
issue.
this, on this particular topic.
Well, I think that this is like a unique situation where like I think you truly have people who have no clue that this is illegal. Because it's a bike, right?
It's got two
If it was illegal, they wouldn't be able to buy it on Amazon, right? Like it's just a bike, it's just a toy basically, so why can't my kid be operating it, right? It's not a, you know, an actual gas-powered motorcycle that I'm buying at a dealership or a car or something like that. Like there's some sort of disconnect between that and the e-bikes and the e-motorcycles that for some reason like that just hasn't like transcended into the mindset of like where the line is drawn. And I just think we just need to do a better job of helping people draw that line.
There's no sound or RPM to scare the crap out of you.
And it's a toy, it's not a motor vehicle
Yeah.
in the parents' hand, right?
Right. And, you know, I mean, the cost has come down so much, right? Like, it would be one thing if these e-motorcycles were costing $5,000, $6,000 to $7,000, right? Like that would give people pause, but like you can buy them on Amazon now for $700.
Mhm.
So like, that's like a regular bike, right? Like, of course, like, I'm gonna get that for my kid if it means a little more independence, and then they can get, you know, to the mall and to school and to soccer practice, and I don't have to drive them, so. All right, well, anything further on this? I think we've got a good direction going forward, and we'll see where we can go with your movie idea here.
Yeah, and then we'll do another one about roundabouts.
Yeah.
Sounds good. All right, thanks, Sergeant
Thank
Tallman,
you.
thanks for being here. All right, thanks, Nick.
Just go. No one's there, you just go.
We're on to item 1C, which is,
You don't need to stop. You don't need to stop. No one's there, you don't need to stop. Just go.
Oh,
The roundabouts.
I'm just gonna go on to item 1C, which is a review of our 2026 events and the 2025 disc golf tournament. Hello, Michaela.
Hi, everyone.
Hello. Welcome.
So I think.
Great job with Chili Fest.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. It was fun. The weather was great.
Yes.
It was
so
for a
good.
change.
It's just so good.
So I think it's come up that there might be some value add in just quickly kind of reviewing our current and planned events portfolio for next year, kind of evaluating if there's anything that we need to get rid of, make some space for stuff. I don't even know what the percentage increase is. Math's not my expertise. But we've gone basically from 4 to almost 40 events in the past 3 years. So I think there definitely is some value add in kind of looking at what we have and taking into consideration budget, oversaturation, et cetera. So I am all ears when it comes to, especially from a community standpoint. I gave some recommendations kind of from a staff perspective on what events I thought had less ROI. If you just kind of factor in staff time, dollars, turnout, competing against communities for the exact same events at the exact same time. So that's kind of Arbor Day. Bike to Work Day, it's low hanging fruit. It's kind of come or go. I think people enjoy it, but it's another one we used to get great sponsorships and partnerships on. Nobody really does that anymore. The chamber doesn't participate in it with us anymore. So basically, we set up a booth just so we can hand out free stuff to people. They love it, of course, but is there really a big ROI on that when we could potentially be doing something else?
That's a big one for, and I'm cool with that. It's a big one for Dr. Cog. Like, they talk about Bike to Work Day a lot because our state Denver metro area, Dr. Cog's Bike to Work Day is like the second biggest in the country. Not having a booth isn't going to suddenly make people not ride their bikes, but it's just one of the things that, we lose that spot on the map. But the fact that no one else is contributing is unfortunate.
I think we still promote it.
Yeah.
I think it's still something that we do as a community.
Sure.
We just don't
We don't
staff
have
a booth where I come with my backpack and grab a free burrito at every single stop. It's become a game, so.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I'd rather see us allocate the staff time and resources to events that are actually moving the needle. Like, I agree that I think it's a great initiative and we should still promote it, but as far as staff resources, it might make sense to look at using those resources elsewhere.
And maybe the space will allow somebody else to jump and say, I want that still, and so I'm gonna do it. Or maybe not, but.
I mean, it'd be great if one of our local bike shops took it on.
Yeah.
Great promotion
It would be
opportunity.
a great
Free
place to
promotion.
stop down at Carbon Wheels, like they're, so, yeah.
Michaela, thinking, looking at your Arbor Day recommendation, your Bike to Work recommendation, thinking about your, I realize this is a funny term, busy season, it's probably all year, not just a couple months, but, would making these changes have a meaningful impact on reducing your other workload at this point in time? Or is it, there'd be a couple of hours of staff saving overall, and so in the grand scheme of things, it's not a lot, but it would certainly help. And are there other events throughout the year where there is a huge workload in terms of staff time that if that was reduced in other ways, or we were able to find outside support that could allow you to use your time in other places that would add more value? Have you thought about what that looks like?
Yeah. Arbor Day definitely is one where we put in a lot of time just because we're fighting for vendors with every other municipality. We, have to hit it hard at the end of the year to get people to choose us versus Louisville, Erie, Broomfield. I think if we were looking at providing room for like a spring event, Arbor Day definitely would give us some room to add something in its place for sure. Bike to Work Day is a little low hanging fruit, kind of give or take. It wouldn't make a big difference. But there's definitely hours and dollars associated there.
I thought, I remember reading, we have to do something for Arbor Day, right? Just to maintain our Tree City USA.
So that's why I suggested, we can do a volunteer tree planting. I get pinged with tons of folks that want to do Earth Day and volunteer projects during that time. We don't necessarily have to do an event. We just have to do an acknowledgement, plant a couple trees.
We always do a proclamation too,
Do the
right?
proclamation.
I think that's a great thing for the veterans group to do.
Yeah.
Because they're looking for a local project.
Find ways to plant trees, especially where we lost trees after the Marshall Fire, so
Ted is big on trees.
put this onto.
Have you heard?
Put this onto a.
Yeah.
OSAC.
Okay. Yeah, people love the touchy-feely of being able to plant more than just, 3 or 4 trees in the park, just because we're hosting the event there.
Wasn't town staff, Leslie might have shared this, where somebody had a bunch of cottonwoods or something in 5-gallon buckets that needed to get planted. I mean, that seems to me in the spirit of Arbor Day.
Mm-hmm, very. Yeah, and we still have great partners that provide saplings and stuff for Arbor Day that we could still shift those resources towards a volunteer project instead of the events.
Is there any, sorry, this is very left lane from the conversation, but when those days come and things like the saplings are available, are any of those resources being routed to people who are recovering landscape-wise from the Marshall Fire, or does this have to be on like public property, town property? Like,
oh, for the Arbor Day qualifications?
Yeah.
We have some vendors who do distribute to the general public, but we also have some events not during Arbor Day that are targeting residents.
I feel like if it wasn't happening, we'd have heard about it, but I know there was a big push in the beginning for a lot of like garden in the box and trees and stuff for the landscaping costs, because people are having to use all the money for rebuilding. They didn't get to re-landscape their properties, but if there's any link in that.
Yeah, I think the first few years we did have specific target towards post-Marshall Fire. It's fizzled out a little bit, but not to say that there still isn't that value add there.
Yeah, I'm fine with shifting that one. I guess the people that I would imagine might not want to shift it are like ACES or OSAC, or I don't know how married to those events those folks are, but there's a couple of them I could imagine would not be thrilled.
We never have like a huge turnout.
It's not huge, and I will say,
if it ties in with like cutting the ribbon for a brand new park, then it's like more. But otherwise, you're like when we did, because it was Arbor Day when we cut the ribbon for.
Yeah.
I forgot the
Superior
name.
Commons.
Thank you.
You don't know all the park
I don't
names?
know.
But we got rained out one year and
yeah, snowed out.
And
it is redundant with national trails. So OSAC does use a lot of the same vendors for national trails. So I don't think they'd miss it much.
Sounds good.
Done. Sold. Next. I got my knife.
I think the sensitive one might be summer markets.
Cut them.
Right now, we're hosting them once a month. I think they've gone very well. Vendors are very happy with it. I would say we're on the fence on being able to support twice a month. We could probably go either way. I did hear a lot of pushback when we did the back to school bubble bash. Vendors were not happy with that because they thought it did distract from sales.
That's half the reason people showed up.
That should just be a whole event by itself.
It will be.
Just like,
yeah, I've got plans.
Eat the vendors in downtown and go in the bubbles.
although we need to have like 2 different weight classes. We have like elementary and middle school because.
Yep. They did reach out to me.
There's some little ones that were getting
Yeah.
bounced around there by the bigger kids. And
Street life, they need to learn.
yeah, I guess get on their e-bikes and just.
How are these kids in Superior gonna get any like, the summer market thing for me is if it's more frequent, it's not the kind of market where people are coming to buy their food for the week, right?
Yeah.
It's a vendor event, right? There's like one booth with some food. Farmers markets that are frequent because people are buying the food that they're using, and that is a different culture than what this is. And I just don't think that we need to have more of them. Maybe a few more, not double. Because I know there's people that are excited. They're like, yeah, there's gonna be more. But are they gonna go to every one of those? And are we gonna be able to like rotate the vendors and change up the scene at all? As frequently as somebody who's going twice a month would be looking for. So I had some concern, like I was excited that there were gonna be more. But I also was like, how are people going to attend if it is the same, you know, if they're having the same experience each time and it's every other week too much? And so I'm a big fan of like cutting back on these, even if it is a sensitive topic, because it's a heavy lift, it's expensive. And I think that there's a balance between it being a novelty and it being like, I'm not even going because I just was there 2 weeks ago.
Well, we're not talking about cutting back, we're talking about not expanding.
Yeah. Correct.
Right, so we're still.
Sticking with once a month.
Once a month instead of upping it to twice a month.
Upping to twice.
Right.
And my concern.
I think we're saying the same.
Yeah, my concern with expanding it at this point.
Because we were gonna double them.
You were.
Potentially cannibalizing other events that are happening on that other day that we pick for an expanded summer market. Because I want to be sensitive to that, and if we're gonna go all in and have a bunch of staff time to create these summer markets, and I want to make sure that they're not on the same day as some other event that staff is also planning.
So with the drafted plan, we've got things spaced out so we aren't overlapping, because we're very cognizant that the town isn't big enough to support multiple events on the same day. But I think to that point, there are some potential markets, like the dog market was one that we were approached about, the chamber and I. That was something we wanted to try to fit in, but if we do expand the summer markets, there really isn't a weekend to fit that in. And then I've been approached, there's some other third parties that want to hold additional concerts or different types of festivals, markets within civic space. And if we're filling up every week, it minimizes how many other, kind of third party events that we can bring in.
And do those have less staff lift and more revenue for the town for the events? For somebody else using the civic space for events, or is that?
So depending on what it is. Some of them would have revenue generating for the town, like the dog market really wouldn't, other than facility rental. But it's been brought up a lot through the chamber because there's a whole bunch of chamber vendors.
Where's the dog market? I don't have a dog.
So there's a bunch of like specialty boutique companies, the dog washing trucks and stuff.
It's like a farmer's market for dogs.
Basically, yeah. They ran a few, they tried to get it into the sports stable, and then they ran a couple in Louisville at the brewery across the road.
Mother Tucker?
No, they did it. I know what you're talking about, because they had signs
Because
on
they
the
had
road.
signs up here.
Yeah, yep,
I had to do a double take. Wait,
Yeah.
that's not here.
yeah,
I
yeah.
did too.
So they tried to kick it off, they just didn't have a consistent location to host it.
They should talk to the sister city and just do that with the Day of the Dog event and just marry those. And that's a little later in the year, so that might not be such a conflict with all the summer stuff going on.
Or on the dog days pool event.
The dog days, yeah, at the end of the year, yep.
I love the summer market, but I am supportive of keeping it at once a month if that's what everybody thinks is kind of best in terms of not flooding the market, right? Like, we don't want people not to show up because it's too common, right? I mean, we talked about this previously, like it's like you want to have it frequent enough that people know about it, and kind of like build it into like their routine. But I think to Jen's point, like if it's not where you're getting your produce on a weekly basis, it's more of a novelty kind of destination versus your weekly grocery shopping kind of thing. So I'm fine with keeping it at once a month, and if the demand is so high like next year that we've done it again for another season, we can revisit it for 2027 and consider going to twice a month then.
Okay.
Did we see a lot of business to the downtown Superior actual businesses during the farmer's market, or was it a distraction from them?
I think they saw a lift. Talking to a couple of them, they said that they get a lot of traction during those events.
Yeah.
And I know I always make sure to like go to like Crack Boba and Cheese and all that to frequent those. I don't think I'm alone because it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that it was some of their best days.
I think most of them said, you know, probably a 40% increase.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, that is completely in the other lane of keeping them and having more of them.
I think the challenge though is municipal lift to drive revenue. At what point do you stop? Right? Like if there's a steep fall off, what do they need else other than these town-driven events to bring people back?
And then there's other ideas for downtown. They're talking, you know, like a food truck night. Origins has been talking about it for a while. The downtown businesses are talking about, you know, potentially hosting one on their own. So again, giving other entities some space where the town's not always fronting the load and the bill connected with hosting events.
Yeah, 'cause I know, oh, sorry, you go ahead. No, you go.
Well, before we get too far away from Summer Market, was there some conversation about Summer Market and Chili Fest being back to back? I was more concerned for staff, but then I heard that from 2 downtown establishments too that were like, wow, it's been quite a week. We barely unpacked our car from Chili Fest and now we're setting up on the street. So is there consideration, I don't know what the right mix is?
So it's hard to find a consistent schedule. The vendors need it to be every second and fourth, you know, Wednesday of the month. And so unfortunately, we can't move Chili Fest.
Right.
And it kind of lines up. It was rough,
okay,
but we survived. I think I heard from the businesses, you know, Chili Fest is great and it was probably worth it to, you know, have that little bit of inconvenience. We'll sleep in January.
No. I don't want that.
Just a question on the schedule, because there's some things in italics, which I know that we do work for, but there's other things on here. I mean, is staff involved with the Broomfield Bites and Brews at the sports table? Or is that just on here as a calendar?
That's just on here as so we don't overlap.
Okay, because I know we do things for like Mohai graduation, at least, you know, that's different, you know, because it's a staff thing that we do.
Yeah.
So I want to be careful, you know, in terms of, because, you know, if it's a Broomfield event, I want 0 staff time.
Correct. That one we have nothing to do with. Actually, the chamber kind of helps us out and they try to, not poach, but try to get us some, you know, additional chili and beer vendors from that event. National Night Out, we do help just with supplies and a little bit of setup, zero waste stuff. HOA movies, Vargas does the heavy lifting for those. We just run the permitting
Who's paying
facilities.
for Vargas for those events?
We are.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Why?
It's been a long.
It's the way we've always done it, Jen.
Yep, that's the classic answer.
I did already ask some questions about that, so that'll come up.
We should definitely not be scheduling like a summer concert or a market on the same nights as the HOA movie nights.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's why I try to get our schedule set as far in advance as possible and then ask that the HOA kind of work around our schedule.
Because even like just turning the lights on, it's not cheap lights, right? Anyways, sorry.
Yeah, I didn't even crunch the
Soapbox.
numbers factoring
At
in
the community, at the days.
the lights.
Oil shield. Nighttime lights are heavy energy draw.
Can we jump back to that Broomfield Bites and Brews?
They are.
Real quick, because I know that that's not eating up staff time, but I did hear it was eating up some of Sergeant Solomon's staff's time because they weren't made aware of it until like the 11th hour, and then they had to try to staff up for obvious reasons. And it was, I guess, because it was Broomfield event hosted in Superior, which is bizarre because Broomfield's massive, so why they couldn't find anywhere in Broomfield is beyond me. But they weren't
More space is
going
better.
to our businesses to try to get them in and involved, so it seemed more like they were just coming over here and using up Sergeant Solomon's staff's time to host it here. can we just like not allow that next year? Or like what is, I guess maybe I'm missing, what's the benefit for the town?
It's
With the sports day.
the sports stable is the one that basically contracts their facility to
We've been on
host
them
that
about
event.
making sure that they work with the sheriff's office to pay for additional deputies' time.
And so sports stable would pay for that?
Yes.
Okay.
Would, but they haven't yet.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think Sergeant Solomon's pretty good about it.
Okay. Because I know with the MMA events, you know, that was a train wreck.
Yeah, and he's talked to them about that as
Yeah.
well.
How?
They had no idea if that many cars were going to show up all at once and try to leave all at once. Right. Not a train wreck in terms of bad things happen, but just from people management, logistics.
Movement.
Like you got 500 cars trying to leave that area at once.
Not from here,
Right.
out of, like coming in and then leaving.
Just like when you're trying to leave the Pepsi Center or Ball Arena, DPD's out there.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that does bring up a good consideration is we require a lot of the sheriff's department when we host these events. Chili Fest is getting so big that we add more deputies each time we host that. The summer concerts have gotten big enough, we've had to add a couple extra deputies to that. If we add beer garden to the markets or any sort of booze to the markets, that is additional sheriff's department time. So that is a consideration with all of these as well.
So a question on that, because if you go to like the Boulder Farmers Market or Blissville Farmers Market, there's like no cops, right? I mean, is our presence, and don't get me wrong, I love Boulder County Sheriff, like what drives our definition of the number of deputies we need? How do we decide?
So a lot of it is access points and vantage points. And then there's also, downtown isn't an entertainment district yet. So that kind of changes how we have to monitor it.
But we work with Sergeant Solomon and get his advice on how many deputies he thinks he's gonna need.
Yeah. He runs the show. He tells me what to do.
I would love to know how much is costing us outside of things that are not Superior events though, for the police. Am I understanding that right? Like, for example, the Broomfield fights and Bruce uses the sports stable. We love that, right? Because of the renting the facility, but then what resources are they taking from the town that they're not paying for and that the sports stable is not paying for? Because there should be like clear lines of that and who's triggered to pay for what based on whatever services they're using. And if we need to tighten that up, that would seem like a hole that money could come out of, unintended for it to become any amount that's an issue, but these events are just increasing, so. That's just news to me, so I would want to understand that better.
I think anything at civic space, big and booth related would bring in police department presence as well.
So Michaela, you mentioned something about an entertainment district. So fast forward 5 years and all the storefronts in downtown are full and we've got Bigsby's and we've got a food hall and we've got life sciences under construction. At that point, do we consider or creating an entertainment district? And if so, does that free up staff time or free up additional resources, or what's the upside of an entertainment district?
I think it definitely puts us in a place where we're supporting local businesses rather than outsourcing. We wouldn't have to bring in food trucks. People could just walk around, grab their food from all of our local businesses. Same with the beer garden portion of it. They can just grab their drinks from the local businesses rather than having to bring someone from outside in. Although we do always use, our local breweries for the summer concerts, and when we do host the beer gardens. It streamlines it. I think it just makes it a little easier. It is a little less lift in terms of coordination and logistics on staff.
Yeah, I like the idea of the entertainment district. I mean, I've definitely heard from The only critique I've had on the farmer's market, the summer's market, was we should do it more often. You know, I heard people say that this is awesome, love to have this more often. And then where's the beer? Like, I'd love to be able to go grab a beer somewhere.
I heard that too.
So.
I like the fact that it doesn't though have the beer presence, because I always say, well, go to Bambi, go to Sports Stable, go, you know, grab your friends and go after. I don't know, I've heard the same, people have asked, and I said, I actually think that's what makes this unique, is it's not. You know, Chili Fest has it, concert, you know, it's, I don't know, it's a little more variety than always having it all the time.
And presumably the food hall will have.
Correct,
taps.
yes.
All right.
So Michaela, just in looking at this, I'm jumping all over, like I know that the ask from CAPS was to determine if there's enough staff capacity to do the mural fest. I see it italicized, but what I don't know is the trade-off. And we took, like, one of the smallest things off the list is all I've heard today was, you know, basically bike and work day. And maybe the doubling up of the summer markets, but are there more things that we need to?
Barbecue.
And Arbor Day.
Yeah, or I said Arbor Day.
Yeah, we haven't talked about the 4th of July yet.
Yeah, we haven't got to the 4th of July, but are there other things that you potentially need direction on in terms of cutting to help ensure that you have capacity to do that?
I think,
even though there's like a whole question mark in terms of what that is going to be, I think the consultant out of Boulder has a pretty good idea, but there's going to be staff time.
So I think staff time is the kicker on that one. I think it's less now. We freed up maybe a slot to put it in, and now it's more staff resources. So I think at this point, we could probably fit it in, but I'm still gonna end up in the red with overtime and flex and not using vacation.
That's not good.
But if we could get in some additional staff hours, I think that makes a huge difference in, you know, the planning and the logistics and having additional staff support on site. Because as of right now, it's Allison and I on deck at every single one of these events, and it adds up quickly.
And springboarding off of that, I got to imagine that, just lost the name of it. What's the film festival? Sundance will wind up embracing town staff time to help with event logistics that are happening in town, and where does that show up?
That's
Not even on the map.
I mean,
Yeah.
we're looking at 2026. 2026 town and community events, and Sundance planning and logistics is, because again, I got to imagine that we're going to have a couple, and while the event organizers will be doing the heavy lift, town staff is going to be still involved in some of the logistics and finding properties and things like that, and that time's not accounted for.
It's not.
They're gonna run you over.
Yeah, I mean, is there something in terms of, you know, there's direct staff, but can we just contract out event management to offload some of these events? I know there's going to be a cost, right?
Yep.
But
Like Safe Build.
yeah, actually, that's a perfect example. You know, where they've got bandwidth and capacity, and then that way you guys are just managing them.
Yeah, there are some areas to bring that in. That does bring up kind of a budget factor. I have a good connection with the events company that runs Boulder Creek Festival. We were actually going to host a big winter kind of pop-up at Civic Space. It didn't end up coming to fruition. The brewery that kind of owned it ended up going belly up. But they've got some great ideas for, you know, activating some downtown, and they would basically run the show. It would be a great way to activate and bring in some events without, you know, it all falling on internal staff time. I think the markets will more or less run themselves next year if we're not adding to them. We've got those pretty streamlined. I think the biggest component is when we bring in, like if ACES wants a booth or sustainability, once we have to start setting up booths for some of our internal committees, that adds staff time, and we're the ones that have to set up the tents and do all the lugging. And
Well, it's because, let's say this delicately, when the committees are asked, do you want a booth? The instinctive answer is sure, because they haven't contemplated what does that mean. Because you guys are too nice to say, okay, I will show up here 2 hours early to set up your tent. However, if you'd like to do it, please be here at this time. I mean, I think we can absolutely, we have, I don't know, committee with 6 committees with 9 people each. You'll get 45 free volunteers.
They want a booth.
That
They
love
should
to do
put up a
this.
booth.
Oh yeah, and they don't even know
Yeah.
that this is all happening in the background.
No.
Yeah, can we just make that a requirement? If the committee wants a booth, they need to not only staff it, but set up. They need to get the tent, get the table, set it up. Because to Neil's
You
point,
see
we've
the
got
same
volunteers.
3 committee members
Yeah.
at every single event.
Yes, and that's a committee.
Michelle will be out
Right,
there.
that's a committee problem.
And that's why, you know, the SYLC made it like required that a certain number of kids would go to things, and they also have 25 members.
Right.
But I think that should be a requirement. I don't think that should be falling on staff. And then if they can't get more than the regular 3 to volunteer to do that, then they don't have a booth. And that's just, I don't think that should be falling on you.
That's big scope creep, big time. Like,
Especially as we added more events. Like, oh, let's put another ACES booth up.
So can we talk about the other things that we're talking about, kind of discontinuing or changing for 2025? And then, so we haven't talked about the 4th of July yet, and then also the community center, live music.
yeah.
So the recommendation on the live music at the community center is to discontinue that. We've got low attendance, and we've got so much additional live music that is just unnecessary at this point.
That's my recommendation.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. 4th of July, getting rid of the community barbecue at the community center. That's a no-brainer. We don't need it. It was great to
Like the first 2 years.
introduce people to the community center. But now, like, it's just unnecessary, right? So
Yeah.
we have the pancake festival.
The race, the parade.
Yeah. So let's talk about the race and the parade.
Okay. So the adaptation, my suggested adaptation, since we're going to have Rock Creek Parkway under construction, which will require an alternate route for the parade as well as the race, is just to throw it all into a festival. It's a little hard logistically to shift the route for the parade and the race without causing some major complications with some of the neighborhoods. If we shift it to Indiana, some of the neighborhoods kind of get locked in because they only have one way in and one way out. Colton, being such a huge road, is going to cost more, and logistically it's a little harder to just completely shut down. So my suggestion would be, let's go big on the festival. This is where bubbles are going to come in, fill the entire Westfield with bubbles. We can just go big carnival. The chamber has had members that would love to do, sponsor more games, more face painting, to be able to get involved. There's been suggestions for pancake eating contests.
Oh my God.
Just to kind of liven things up. So I think this is a great
Sign me up.
opportunity to
Start stretching my stomach now.
yeah, just to kind of spice things up, shift things up for 1 year.
Oh God.
See how it goes.
I have big feelings about there not being a parade.
So my question is about the float portion. Can that still be part of the event, but it's not in a parade? Because I think once you get rid of, I mean, you've seen it ebb and flow through the years where you have one float, woo, and 1 year we have like 4. It's like, wow, this is awesome. I'm worried you take 1 year off without floats and we might
not get them back.
So I fully respect your judgment, especially on logistics and you know, saving a few pennies here and there, but can we come up with some way to maybe still do a float aspect, but without the parade?
Yeah, we've kind of thrown, and we haven't dove real deep into this. But we kind of talked, we could do, you know, like an arts thing. We've got all of that fencing we could throw up. You know, murals, like each group, instead of doing a float, could sponsor, you know, a mini mural, or we could do mini floats. I've
Can they
heard.
still have their float? It's just that it's like a standing parade. They're just, you
The
know.
people move, not the floats.
Yeah.
We could.
I mean, that would be hilarious.
Yeah, everyone just stage them in the parking
You
lot.
just go, and they're on the floats throwing candy at the people walking by.
Where people walk by the floats just to observe them after the parade's done, so.
And then they
we
can
still-
take pictures with them, and the
Yeah.
groups can take pictures, and maybe make a bigger deal out of like the contest winning part of like who wins for the best float.
And other than Clayton Circle, Indiana's, everything else can get in and out, but Clayton Circle's the one piece of it. So you could technically go from Rock Creek Parkway all the way down to Clayton Circle.
How long would it be shut down for the parade?
Well, if you
People
wrote,
couldn't get out.
if you add in the race plus the parade, it's shut.
Mix the
Race.
race.
Mix the
but
race.
Not the parade.
It's about 2 hours.
The parade,
People couldn't get in.
I mean, the whole benefit of the parade is downhill mile, right? Like if you're not running down Rock Creek, it's not the same race. Like you
Correct.
can stick it in Colton, but it's like, no, this is a flat
Did
race.
we not have the race one year?
Yeah,
Because
the
Yes.
pandemic
Seven,
year,
yeah.
That's
we canceled
not the-
everything the pandemic year because
Yeah.
And then the year before last, we didn't do it because of construction.
Yeah, that's why, okay.
Yeah.
I knew we didn't do it
But the
one year.
whole, I mean, what
Parade's
makes
so
it such a cool race is you're running downhill and you're hitting like a 4-minute mile. Right, which you're not gonna do that on Colton. I'm never gonna do it anyways, but point being,
Could it come down
go down the castle,
Rock Creek Circle?
people like rolling.
I don't know. But maybe a place for
Yeah,
them.
I mean, it's not
Floats
ideal,
to
but I
be
mean,
Still.
we're tearing up that exact portion of Rock Creek Parkway and.
Off from Indiana down, yeah.
So what we're talking about is basically pushing pause on the race and the parade for 2026 while we get through construction.
Right.
Have a really big festival, a community park in lieu of a parade, and then in 2027, we're back to
Bring it all
the
back.
race and, yeah.
Yeah.
You could do a downhill mile at the end of Dirty Bismarck.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's unfortunate, but
You have to do it.
it is what it is, and, you
Yeah.
know, I mean, we can't have people walking through, you know, a torn up road and construction site, and so.
Yeah, I mean, we were able to finagle the parade into it last year, but, you know, with the uneven streets and sidewalks, this year it's gonna be or next year it'll be
Yeah.
way more torn up,
Yeah,
so.
Rock Creek Parkway is a non-starter.
The mini float thing is a good idea. There's just people that love doing that.
Well, it's the neighborhood park that we want
Yeah.
to try to keep.
Such a bummer with the anniversaries, so that I'm like, oh.
I know, it's like a
we can't
big
do it.
one.
That's-
Yeah.
But I get it.
But we can definitely kind of, any more ideas, please send them my way. How else we can kind of keep that camaraderie, that neighborhood competition.
Well, the good thing is after the pandemic, it did attendance rebounded, but maybe it's because, you know, we spent a year indoors and we all just wanted to go outdoors. So wanted to rally people.
Yeah.
If you had a whole field full of bubbles though, I mean, the kids would not care about the parade.
We can hide
You would
candy
have
under
to
the
section it off
bubble.
though. Like, big kids over here, littles over here.
And then Chilean Beer Fest.
Food fest.
Taste of
I
Spirit.
love that.
So you guys have all been here longer than me. You know how big of a struggle the chili's been. And I think we've reached a threshold where it's almost impossible to feed the masses.
It's always hot too.
Yeah, chili in the
Like,
middle of
why are
summer
we
is
eating
gross.
chili right now? It should be a month from now.
And I'm sure we'll still get folks that bring in some sort of chili of some kind, so we'll still have that traditional component, but we'll just be able to expand it tenfold. It'll be a lot. And I think this is a great example where we put in so many hours begging and pleading and bribing people to make chili. Making it a food festival, we'll get vendors left and right and not have to put in a fraction of the effort.
I love it.
Yeah, I thought the beer fest was amazing this year because that's just building and growing on its own. Well, Chili's been declining, so
More
Yeah.
food.
go with
There
where
was too much
people are going.
alcohol. I can just tell you that.
You just need to keep buying pretzels. Just keep buying pretzels from the pond.
This would solve that problem. We'd have equal parts food and beer.
I think it was, I don't know who, I think it was the Mohai cheerleaders that had the pretzel necklaces. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Definitely do that again.
So to Jen's point about, it'd be nice if Chili Fest were a month from now, why do we have it on the day we have it?
That's just the way it's always been.
It was based on the International
fall
Chili
event.
Society's calendar, and we were always the last one to qualify right before you got invited to nationals.
We were
So
also,
we had to have a certain amount of time in which you, if you qualified, you could book your tickets, book your hotel, and we would pay your fees.
and we were also competing against the Great American Beer Fest,
That's right.
Correct.
which is 2 weeks after in Denver. And so we didn't want to schedule it, like, we couldn't do it like the week before or the week of, because all the brewers are down in Denver, so.
Wasn't there a year we tried to do it in October too, and it was like an insane windstorm?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
We've had some difficult weather.
Colorado's like, I'll teach you to try to plan
Basically.
around the weather.
Look at our first summer market.
Yeah.
Thunderstormed out.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
Yeah, and then now we've kind of reached this area where, you know, Lafayette has theirs, Erie has
Everyone's copying
theirs,
us.
we have ours. And so we all have them on scheduled dates that aren't competing with each other. If we shift, we might cause some chaos.
Superior food.
Save the best for last.
We should have a fun play on the word of superior,
Yeah.
telling everybody that is the best one by saying it's superior.
Yeah. I feel like-
So that would be, do we want to stick with the name, still call it, you know, Chili and Beer Fest, because that's our long-standing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you want to go ahead and shift it all up?
Mix it up.
Someone's gonna show up like, where's the chili?
Like,
Yeah.
Just
that
with one
tent
guy with
over
chili.
there.
Yeah.
Oh, is that?
I mean, I wouldn't mind having some sort of play
Yeah, that's-
on the name. Like,
Chili stands for Colorado.
because there could be chili. I like the idea of like expanding it to chili rellenos and chili bread and, you know, all the different things you can
Chili ice cream.
make with chili, right? Yeah.
Not cold,
But,
not just cold.
But expand it to a full-on slate of different food options, so.
I mean, Heather brought up a good point.
Because there is a brand
Are you okay
identity
with
to
that?
it, like,
Yeah.
you know, there's a lot of people who show up and it is a known event.
It's
so.
why I moved here. I found it on the internet when I was in
Yeah.
Qatar.
And I think it's one of those things that, like, if we don't have Chili Fest, like if we called it something else, even if it's a different event that's similar but better, people are gonna be pissed.
What if we do like Superior Chili Food Fest and then slowly lean more into Food Fest than the chili over a few years and people just get used to it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm open for all that.
I just respect the Boulder Valley Rotary on
Yeah.
their Beer Fest side and how that
Yes,
positions them.
absolutely.
Where's the chili? and Beer Fest?
Like, where's Waldo? Find it, you get a prize. In the bubbles, look, keep looking.
Yeah.
Don Jose.
Yeah.
We can work on that.
Yeah, we'll work on that. Comms is great, AI is great, we can sort that out.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if we want to kind of circle back to the CAPS's Arts Festival before we jump into disc golf.
Well, before we do that, again, getting back to my original question for you and bandwidth for your team, have the changes that it sounds like the council is supportive of, you know, had a meaningful decrease in the amount of hours or overtime that you think is going to be needed to get all these events planned, executed, et cetera? Or are we just redistributing hours over the year?
And you'll see at the next budget meeting, and I think Jeff's gonna send out the follow-up stuff to you tomorrow, but there's a new events coordinator position that's been added since our last budget meeting.
And that's full-time?
Full-time.
And Michaela, is that more helpful to you than hiring a
That's my
third
question.
party, or would you want to see that in tandem, or what's most beneficial for you to help take some of that lift off?
I think with that, we can kind of go both ways. So I think with that, it'll allow us to not drown, to keep our heads above water and consider new partnerships with third parties. explore more, consulting opportunities, and outsource. I also think it would give me some more bandwidth to potentially be a +1 with committees. You mentioned we haven't done a committee training, and that's absolutely true because I've been drowning in events, but that'll get me above water, so I can kind of shift and refocus on updating that committee handbook, throwing in trainings, potentially help more if we do dive into the Sundance Festival committee arena. I think adding a full-time +1 will make a big difference.
I think you use part of 26 to shortlist some event management companies that could start taking over things like the concerts and the parks, like the low lift items that take a lot of your staff time, but there's plenty of folks out there that can do it, because then that company could probably help us for Sundance. Because if we have, for example, 3 different events happening on a Sundance weekend, that's not a staff manageable weekend, right? We're going to need third-party help. We may as well test them out in 26 before everybody else hires them.
Yep, that's true. That's a good point.
Along the same lines from just like manpower, because I always see you guys out there setting up, and I always feel so bad because there's so few of you. And I know sometimes we pay Vargas to help, but I remember years ago, we'd have park staff kind of help with that, some of the guys from park. Is that something that we can look at again, or is there a reason we're not doing that? Would that be helpful?
I think we added so many events, and parks didn't expand with it. So I felt bad this year. They were shorthanded, and it was hard to ask them to work all the extra hours when they were already kind of short-staffed. But I think ideally they get staffed back up, and they would hopefully have a little more capacity to help with some of that setup and tear down.
Yeah. I also, to your point, don't want to like stress them out too and add more to their plate, because I know everybody's stretched thin, but I'm like, there's some manpower there that might be helpful to set up and break down.
Getting too old to lug buckets.
Is it possible, since we have quarterly work sessions, that we revisit this, maybe not the next one, but the one after, to just check in and see if like any of this stuff is help, like do we need to, not that it has to be this long of a conversation, but just to see if there's some improvements, or if you're feeling like, I guess all of these things don't happen until next year.
Yeah.
We didn't move anything off the winter schedule, so you won't feel any of that.
Arbor Day.
Oh, yeah.
It's more the spring schedule.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's probably winter planning, right?
Yeah, I mean, we were out 6 to 8 months with all the planning.
There's nothing in the winter that is.
No, because we have Monster Mash, Winterfest.
Just live music at the community center, right?
The couple things at the community center left.
Okay. Oh.
Are you still thinking on the community center of keeping like the bingo, jamming music bingo, and like those types of events?
Yeah, so the trivia bingo nights are a huge success. Those are going to continue, but those are going to fall on the program side. So those won't be under kind of the events department. And then that also, getting rid of those live music nights frees up some space. They wanted to do some more senior program nights. It frees up a little more space for the teen nights, which have been a huge success. So I think it just takes some low-hanging fruit out of the mix.
So back to caps. So
yeah,
what are we thinking?
So I did just a little quick research and digging. It kind of sounded like we thought this mural festival was going to be a big, huge festival that was going to have a big draw and put us on the map for Sundance.
I don't think so.
Okay,
Yeah,
and that's why we were trying to get into it sooner than later.
I think it was kind of going off of some previous work session about wanting to see more murals. So CAPS saw that and said, hey, here's an opportunity to leverage a third party to get more murals.
Okay.
And yes, there'll be some press around it, but not a catalyst around CAPS or around Sundance. I mean, at least that's my impression. But hey, let's do a concerted event, and then start talking about Sundance.
I thought completely the opposite, that it was gonna be a huge lead into Sundance and have like art murals and, but I think that was, we were talking about the Denver, like graffiti, days and stuff, and so I think it was a lot of idea sharing, but, the potential to see it grow into something that makes sense anchored to Sundance is probably a good idea.
Yeah, I didn't think in the first year you're
Yeah.
gonna get anywhere near the eyeballs on a new event. I mean, Chili Fest, the first year, there was like 7 people there, right?
Was there enough chili?
That's probably the one and only event.
That story.
I
haven't had any yet. I've lived here for 5 years. Not one bite.
Some of the chili was insane.
So I think my biggest concern was just timeline on this. If we were gonna try and make it happen in May of '26, we basically have to get mural spaces locked in now. And with the list that CAPS provided, most of these are not town-owned facilities.
Let's not do it in the spring.
Yeah, I think that was the same conversation we had, trying to do
That was too aggressive.
Okay. One thought was, though, there are some areas that might potentially work, like the downtown Superior Bridge, that underpass going along the trail is one way. There might be some, I think, Leslie mentioned the civic space parking garage, the breezeways, originally had murals in that plan. So that those might be some low-hanging mural spaces that we could get sooner than later. When we talk about third-party consultants, the company out of Boulder had pitched a spring, kind of spring streets market in downtown Superior, utilizing civic space, kind of pop-up brewery, kind of beer festival, full-on kind of market festival, which would potentially give an opportunity to bring in, and introduce this mural festival if we did want to try and pull it off in the spring. I just don't think we can tackle any of these big ones that don't belong to the town by spring. So it would
Then we
be,
shouldn't do it.
don't do it at all.
Yeah.
And just wait until we can get some of these.
No, I mean, I think didn't have to be spring, it could have been the fall.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So like, when you say don't do it at all, just don't do it in spring, but do it later in the year.
More of an on-ramp plan, so you're not feeling compressed to get something planned in the next 3 months.
Yeah.
And said new person
Right.
Yeah.
might have some insight into how best
Okay.
work towards this too, which would be good.
Okay. So I guess the next question would be, just given what's on our fall calendar, is fall doable, or is this more in like November, December, painting murals in cold winter, I guess? Less than ideal, but
Yeah, I think time-wise, we have to fit it in the fall. If we're not doubling up the markets, I think that frees up some space. I mean, if we are able to lock in some of the downtown mural spaces, we could possibly join it with like the Fall Fest, the October Fall Fest market.
That would be cool.
Because I think this is a great add-on component.
Yeah.
I don't think this stands alone as an event. But adding it in, I think, really would take an event, kick it up a notch.
I love that.
Well, maybe the priority should just be working with this organizer in Boulder to identify and obtain like licenses to put the murals up whenever they're ready to be put up. And like once they're all locked in, then we can find a date that kind of works for, because there's going to be scheduling for all the artists as well, and coordinating all that. But we don't want to rush like obtaining kind of the spaces. Like let's get the right spaces first, and then figure out when we are going to actually get paint up on them.
Okay.
Because if we end up struggling to like obtain spaces that are non-town owned, then maybe we want to reconsider.
Yeah. Okay. That's doable. Anything else?
Disc golf.
All right, disc golf. What do you think, Michaela?
My recommendation is to not host the event.
I'll second that.
Can I ask a question in terms of how we arrive at a price to charge? Because if I wanted to rent the West shelter for a day, it's $1,000. Just for one shelter, for one day. This is both shelters for like 5 days. It's $2,000.
Yeah, I don't remember how we originally.
Yeah, I kind of tried to dig and look back. I think it's a nonprofit organization, so I think the goal was just setting a flat rate for the organization. I couldn't find anything that gave a rhyme or reason calculation as to how it was decided upon.
So we started with a number that went back and we just built from there. We didn't say, you know what, that old number, old team, this is what the number should be. Okay, so we just took the 1,500 and kind of just grossed it up by.
That's the way it's always been.
Okay.
So we didn't actually apply the fee schedule that we passed in connection with our budget every year?
Correct. Like the board adopted fee schedule that residents would be charged for that facility. Right. Like I didn't even know there was a way to like supersede our fee schedule.
Well, like,
so we'll
if a nonprofit group, we have some nonprofit groups that have been wanting to use the downtown civic space, like this, I think Monarch High School had an event or something, so we waived the fee for that. We do that from time to time for certain groups, mainly nonprofit.
The storytelling group that just did their presentation, we waived the fee on that one.
With the Mohai one, that like, you know, half those kids have family members who are residents, so they could get it for free anyways.
Yeah.
There is a resident connected to the disc golf group. Like just from seeing stuff online, somebody commented that he was a member of whatever the group is that reserved it, and made the point to say that like I live here and I'm doing this. So it wasn't just some outside group connection, but I think to some of the residents' point of, I imagine there would be a heavy cost to close the park for that long and use the facilities at that rate, and that either we missed out on the money or we are we're taking a resource away from residents without making any money from it. So either way, it just doesn't seem like the right thing to do.
Well, it just seems like in the fee schedule, I mean, I think all of this should be on the fee schedule, whether it's a fee that we're charging to residents or non-residents or nonprofits. And it should be just something that's kind of like clear, and like if we want to waive the fee for Mohai, like use the civic space, great. If they said like, hey, we wanted to use the civic space for the next 3 months, like, and book it solid, we'd be like, that seems like it's problematic. So there needs to be some sort of kind of reasonable amount of time if we're going to waive any fee or charge any kind of reduced fee. You know, like we do that with the community center, right? Like residents get two room rentals per month. They can't just book the room every single day for the entire month. So similarly here, like if a group like this wanted to host an event, you know, maybe we waive the fee for an afternoon, but not a week.
Why don't we come up with a fee schedule that's like resident fee schedule, and then a fee schedule that's like entity fee schedule, and then a schedule that's nonprofit. And that way it's cut and dry across the board. Nobody's getting special treatment. This nonprofit got better treatment than another one. So it's just cut and dry, makes it easy. And then maybe say for schools, you get like one free one, or however, you know, one free one every 6 months.
Yeah, we've got resident, non-resident, and that's kind of where it ends. And the only time was with the community center, because we wanted to get it going, is the only time we've offered anything for free. Because all the park shelters, there is no free option. For residents, non-residents, the Pope, they all pay, right? And, you know, the community center was a one-off to try to create reasons to go, which I think has been great. But we haven't gone back and extended that to the park shelters, right? So those sit empty more often than not. And to me, it's just a totally underutilized asset.
It seems like it's just time for this too, because we have more resources and now with the civic space and down, like this is going to become a thing. So identifying the lanes of what are the groups that could be renting it and what is appropriate fees for them, so that it gives staff the structure to say yes or no, instead of something maybe in between those two. And for the residents, when they ask for things like, why did you decide to do this? You can be like, here it is.
Yeah.
This is why.
I would like to arm staff with something that you're not having to try to defend a position and say, well, you know, we did this because, you know, whatever, it's, here it is, and this is why we did it.
I think also like, you know, renting an entire park is something that, you know, maybe it's a policy position we just say like shouldn't happen, or it comes to the board for a decision. You know, Rock Creek HOA has been using Purple Park for their Oktoberfest and the Easter egg hunts. And those things are great, and it's community members that are going there.
That's for like 3 hours.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you know, if somebody wants to go to those parks and use the playgrounds with their kids, like, they can do that, right? Like, all of that is still available, plus then there's all the other fun. But excluding residents from, you know, the parks that they pay for with their tax dollars for a prolonged period of time seems wrong.
I think to Michaela's point, though, in the last few years, we went from 4 events to 40 events. And this is just one of those administrative things that didn't catch up with like the increase in what was happening. And so I want to say I know there are residents that were really angry about this and they feel like this was very personal. This was in their backyard. This was something like we all got the emails. We all heard about it. And I want to have empathy for their experience, but I also want to point out that like there was nothing intentional, like that this wasn't something, you know, that we caught this and now we're going to fix it, and that's where we're at. And so I hope that this alleviates some of the frustrations that they're having, but also thank you for coming to tell us, because now we know that this was like, we wouldn't have known this. So the system is working like it's supposed to, right? Like the feedback mechanism is there. And I think it'll be a good thing moving forward to have a structured kind of process for how people get to rent stuff.
So in terms of the fee schedule, I think the fee schedule should be amended, you know, as has been discussed, but we should also have those kind of lines of the things that can't be just done administratively that need to come up to the board. And, you know, if the line is going to be like, whether it's more than a certain number of hours or a certain amount of space, whatever it is, there's some threshold where, you know, like I don't need to know about like one of the little picnic areas in one of the parks is going to be used for a birthday party, right? Like that doesn't need to come to the board. I mean, frankly, like I don't think we need to know that the HOA is going to be using Purple Park for Oktoberfest or, yeah, well, I guess the liquor license, but like, no, the Easter egg hunt, right? Like they're not serving beer there. You know, so that doesn't need to come to the board. Maybe they are.
Yeah, right. And I think to your point, like anything that deviates from this, like any group that wants, you know, a long period of time, that they want a discount, you know, rather than you guys getting stuck, you know, let it come to the board so that we could, you know, weigh the pros and cons. Like if somebody wants to offer, you know, $100,000 to use Purple Park for 3 days, your answer is probably hell yes. But the rest of us, you know, to provide your cover, bring it to the board, and then that way it's, you know, transparent.
Within the context of the fee schedule, the one thing I'd want us to keep in mind is if town staff is having to work overtime to manage the event or approve the event or whatever, that if we're considering waiving a fee because it's a nonprofit or school, that we're still covering the overtime cost to the town.
They pay for the staff time.
They pay for the staff time.
I think that's one thing to keep into consideration with civic space, is a lot of the nonprofits wanting events there are happening at least a portion of that event is going into after hours.
And again,
Yeah.
my preference would be that we cover that we still charge a fee that covers the overtime costs.
Yeah, but I mean, this is a really good point, because look, if the civic space posted hours are till 9 PM, you know, like, and somebody wants to use it till 9 PM, is that getting outside of staff time?
Well, they use it till 9
Yes.
PM and then they've got
Because they have
cleanup.
to kick them out at 9, and then they have to
Right.
close it all down. And they don't ever leave when they're supposed to leave.
I've never been to an event that ends right at the end time. It's an hour later that people are still milling about and staff's like, all right.
No, I
Got some to leave
got that,
5
but I mean, I
times.
think what we want to do, because we've heard, you know, these restaurants, like, I'll close super early, right? Like, oh, everything's closed at 9, right? But like, well, no, but people still want to eat at 10. But if we're telling events like, oh, you got to create, your nonprofit, you got to find a way to pay for these people. Like, we got to readjust our expectations. Like, you know, can we hire, you know, non-staff members, you know, third parties that we can hire to come in and run that, so we're not paying overtime to our staff to administer that space. Like, I would love to have that space fully occupied until 10 o'clock and not have a nonprofit sort of have to shut it down because they don't have the money to pay for our overtime. Because it's just, you know, normal staffing hours, right? Like, we've got to find a better way to manage our own resources so that we can optimize them, and people don't feel, you know, like it's really expensive to do an event here.
One of the things that they do for like the departments, like the department I work for, we can use the facility, and because we're a school department, it doesn't cost anything, but we have to pay for any of the staff or anybody that's like helping. And I think that structure for anybody, not just out of towners or nonprofit or like the put up your own tent. I think there's a heavy draw on the staff for things that are just not really thought about in the process. So like calculating all of that and making sure it's built in, I think is really important for them, to protect them from like the creep of just misuse of their time and energy.
You know, and CU's got a very stated schedule. Like, if you want to rent one of the school facilities, BVSD's not as good, but there's a lot of other school facilities, they have a stated rate. Like, you can stay here till midnight, and you pay for custodial for the next 2 hours after that, and this is your rate, and it's all baked in, you sign that agreement. And if it's over a certain number of people, then you got to pay for an off-duty police officer and everything else. Like, there's a lot of cultural events that take place in a lot of these large schools that, you know, I've been going to for years. So, and that's all baked in, and in that way, when these nonprofits sign up, they know exactly what they're signing up for.
And they're expecting it too.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's kind of
exactly.
on us to like get that squared up so that it's available. And I don't know what the expectation is. Like, for example, the disc golf, if we go to whatever, if it were to continue, that like, and we give them like, this is what it would cost, would they come back? Or is that like?
They love it. They did everything they could this year to make the partnership work and to try and appease the neighbors, and we shifted Hole 1 for specific reasons. You know, they accommodated as much as they could. So I think it is a nonprofit, so it would come down to the dollar amount if they could afford it or not.
Maybe that was a like poor example, because I'm not asking for them to come back. I'm just saying, if, you know, given a fee structure, are we expecting like a lot? Well, do you think we would expect a loss of people using those resources or those facilities? Or is it going to give the right amount? Like, there's got to be the pricing that's the right balance of like the usage, but not over usage, worth our time and staff and wear and tear on the whatever the facility is. I don't know what that is, but there's people that do that for a living, actually.
All right, well, I'm not hearing anybody who's necessarily saying we should continue the disc golf invitation. We're not saying definitely no, but we're saying at a minimum, like, or maybe Heather's saying no.
Well, no, I think this discussion is great. I mean, if there's a price attached to it, then.
We need to be kind of reasonable in terms of what the expectations are for the value of that resource that we're essentially giving away right now for free. So, and if that ends up having the side effect of discouraging people from renting it, then so be it.
He's the first time.
Right? Okay. All right. Thank you, Michaela.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.
get what you needed, sort of? Did you get what you needed from this?
Yes, very much so.
I just don't want to provide like opaque direction and then everyone's like, do we do this or not do this?
That's a survey question.
That is a survey question.
Did you get clear direction?
Right now, I'm just trying to ask before we do one.
Do we want to take 5 minutes?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
All right.
Disobedient.
I did at the school too. It really pissed me off.
Kids that are caught on e-bikes have to come set up tents and clean up trash.
Some restorative
Indentured
justice.
servitude.
I love it.
We used to have meat buckets at Chili Fest, so they would be in charge of the meat buckets. It would be perfect.
That sounds disgusting.
I love that there's something
What
called a
is
meat
that?
bucket.
There's some good stories.
All right,
But
Are we back?
you ready? We're not ready.
Jason's not back, Rob's not back. Anyway, I just wanted to give you a heads up. If anything comes of it, just make sure you send it my way.
I don't know, it looks like some sort of.
I'm here to have a
There's coconut,
flashback about it,
white chocolate.
but I doubt
Alright.
there's anything.
Did not know.
Good. The people that matter
I
to
had two of
you
these
notice those
that-
things, and the people that
with
didn't
my
doesn't
chips.
matter. It's
It's only
Great
half
to
the
have
calories
it.
in there, two of the same kind.
Okay.
I know Eldo was at half staff.
Everybody, I mean,
They all were.
it was a presidential mandate to go across the country, and a few people were like,
Yeah.
All right.
Easy fix.
All right.
it takes one individual.
Jason.
Also access to a key. in this
Jason
particular
Moscato.
case.
All right, we're moving right along onto item D, which is the discussion of 2027 Sundance Film Festival. I didn't put this on the agenda. so-
Jen asked to put this on.
Oh, did I?
Yes, you did.
I think it was just so we could touch base.
Well, I actually wrote down a bunch of information that I was looking at about it, just as some stats from, I was mostly curious about the towns outside of Park City and what their impacts were. And so it was hard to capture that information because it's in a county and they're also similar to like Gun Barrel and Niwot and Superior, and like they're smaller municipalities that don't, some of them are unincorporated, Summit County, and some of them are cities, but they're small. So the information tends to just capture the big, like whole county information. But I did want to point out that the hotels, as expected, the hotels, short-term rentals, Airbnb rates surged 200 to 300% during that 10-day period. Roughly 25% of the annual lodging and restaurant tax is generated during those days. But the big area of expenses, just to flag, was event security, policing, traffic control, and large event management, which I think we're kind of expecting. But ambulance emergency services, so I'm thinking it might be good to, I'm sure Boulder's going to do this, but depending on what we do, engage with Boulder Community Health or Vista on, what that looks like. But a lot of money was spent on overtime and sheriff operations. Significant spike in the January build up to it for deputies, SWAT, and traffic officers. I think the biggest thing for me was the big winners on lodging and restaurants were the towns that were directly around it, but they seem to be just heavily burdened by the severe traffic and restraints from services being able to provide support for it. So all of that to say, I feel very underprepared for what's coming our way. And I know we talked about potentially having some kind of committee or people who want to work. Yeah, people who want to work on this and have the skill set to bring for things like these, which is not me. But I would love to see that kind of start standing up because I don't think we can get in front of this soon enough. So.
Did you meet with Ellen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so I met with Ellen last week on this and kind of everything going on in her world. And she has a good grasp on kind of, I think, similar things that you shared. And we did a whole brain dump too of these things and what it would take for our community to, one, be prepared, but two, to take advantage of it. So that's kind of where we left it, just because I think it was a large lift, like both of us realized. There's a lot of details. And she's getting some resources both from our regional partners as well as Boulder Chamber, who's obviously deep dive into this. It'll be an interesting time of the year for us because I mean, it's January. We'll have to see if schools change their calendar based on this. I'm curious to see if the college does because it's 2 weeks in the month of January. That was the first thing that came to my mind was timing for the event. So there's a lot more questions done than probably what like you're experiencing. So happy to help Ellen and whatever. I was just going to give her a week, so that would be in 2 days, and then touch point with her and see what else we can do. Because I said I'm happy to be a vehicle in which to say this is where she is, so she doesn't have to be here all the time to update. And then yes, can we put a time on the calendar that's a work session for anyone interested in the community to just kind of come around a table, whether they're a business owner, an artisan, or they have experience directly with an event like this that want to kind of just help find some answers. So not a lot of direction yet, but agreed.
We definitely have a couple of residents who are very experienced with events, large events.
Yeah.
That we could tap into.
Yeah, right.
For sure. And we'd probably love to find us ways to do it.
Should we just host something at like the community center that's just an all call for anybody that's interested?
Yeah.
And then kind of let it sort itself out.
I think that's the best thing because then if there's, at least in my book, there's a date on the calendar.
Yeah.
Because right now everything's moving too fast anyway.
And then kind of depending on the interest that you have there, then we can figure out whether we want to kind of formalize a subcommittee or something like that. Just keep it informal.
So who does that?
I think you raised your hand, right?
I will, but the town's got to send it out.
Well,
I'll reserve it and host it.
You can work with Ellen as well on coordinating that and the communication.
And so you're thinking this is going to be like an info session to the community that says, hey, Sundance is coming in 2027. This is going to impact your community. We're trying to brainstorm and woodshed around like ideas to prepare and to capitalize on the event. And if you're interested in playing a part.
Intentionally vague because we don't know anything.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should just be forthcoming with that. It's like, we also have not done this before. So, we can learn all we can learn online and through connections, but the town's got to decide what it wants to be for this, right? And I don't think that so much is an us thing.
But if it's not in 27, then it could be 28, 29.
Yeah.
I mean, so if we figure out what we know and what we're missing, the time might come right behind that we can be part of it. Obviously hotel, whether it will be here or not, you probably know that answer, but we will be there for 28. So what does that look like?
No, and I think it's a great opportunity to talk about short-term rentals. If somebody wants to create a short-term rental, get the hell out of town for 2 weeks, we now almost have our system set up. Get your permit, get going, get your HOA permission and all those things, and just do it.
Based on our short-term rental, though, would you need to get a permit based on the Augusta rule?
I don't know. HOA seems to claim different, ownership of different things. So, but that's a really good question.
Okay. My only hesitation is that I am not the spearheader of this. Like, I don't want to accidentally end up the one that is the person. I'm happy to do logistics to set it up, but I think once it happens, somebody should, and I don't know that it should be somebody should go, right? Because I don't have any more room on my calendar for more spearheading of things.
No, and there might be.
I just want to be cautious to not do that.
There might be an expert in the field, to whether it's a current business owner or a resident who wants to be that, and then I'm happy to walk alongside and help out. And then obviously the chamber needs to be involved.
Should we do it on a weekend or a weeknight? Is this something we should do offline? We don't need to do this right now. Right?
If you do send an e-blast out, put in there, and about e-bikes.
Well, while we have the quorum, we probably could at least talk about what next steps are, but if we are offline, just to make sure we're not talking as a group.
Oh, I just mean picking a date,
Oh,
like
picking a
picking a
date.
time, like when we think this would, and maybe it will be multiple, maybe it will be an evening and maybe a weekend because
Schedules or
people and scheduling and stuff. But I also don't know the schedule for the community center and how quickly I could get something. What if, I could check to see if after First Fridays, if there's an interest directly after that for people, but that is during the weekday. That might be difficult, kind of to do that.
Regardless of when we schedule it, you're gonna have, if we schedule it after First Fridays, there's the people that say that can't come to First Fridays because they work, and if you schedule it in the evenings, there's gonna be both people who can't.
Yeah.
So,
Just pick one.
I think you pick one and you see what happens, and then if you need to hold another one, you can hold another one, but I too will call not it on this, in terms of leading this. So, just putting that on the record.
I'll get back to you, and does anybody else specifically want to get back to?
I'd like to be involved.
Okay, I'll get back to both of you on date availability, and then you let me know, and then we can be at it, and then wherever it goes from there. Okay, thank you.
All right.
And if you'll include Ellen.
Yes.
All right, we're on to item E, discussion of an employee survey and feedback on the questionnaire.
Yeah, on page. Yeah, so we provided you with the draft questions, so you have feedback on those directly, but Nadine been working with Employers Council. We've done a number of these for different cities. And
Yeah, Council, thanks for having me. I've been working with the Employers Council on the survey. They've done this for a lot of different places, local governments, nonprofits, businesses. So they have a standard template, and they sent me all the questions, which I included in your packet. They had me pick out the ones that I thought would be good choices. I picked them, looking at trying to get employee satisfaction on workplace environment, the culture here, kind of give us our baseline because we haven't done anything like this before. I'm pretty excited because we're just past that threshold of being able to do a survey. We're, about 70 employees, so it's kind of a little trick. We're just there as far as getting some patterns or some takeaways from it. So yeah, just wanted to open it up for questions, comments, suggestions.
One question I did have, in the memo, it alluded to one approach of not having write-in because somebody could determine the writing style and figure out, oh, that was Mark that made that comment. Will there still be an opportunity to provide any written comments? Because employee surveys that I've participated in, there's always some nuance that you don't get in a 1 to 5 rating.
We can add that. I think we'll still know who wrote it. But give them the opportunity to say something and know that it might not stay completely anonymous just because of that. But one open-ended question. Sure.
I think that would be valuable just because it's not a mandatory field to where if they're nervous about being identified based on their writing style, they don't have to write something, but it would be nice for them to have the opportunity to, if they wanted to delve into something, and then they could always, speak a little differently in the writing to mask it if they,
there you go. Mask their style.
But it would be nice for them to have the space to do that if they wanted to.
I'd really like to see an open-ended question too. And it could just be like a matter of like, what's something that you'd like leadership to hear that you haven't felt like you could say, or I would like there to be some open-ended question. I was wondering also about the gender questions, like why is that necessary? If you want to keep anonymity, why would you want to know that?
Just to break it down by that demographic, if that's something that you wanted to see as a result of the survey.
I had thought about that too, because I was like, why are we asking? And then I was like, well, if there's a pattern where maybe a certain group feels underrepresented or
that there's something going on there, that it would be important to know that the people who are saying they feel a certain way, or maybe from a certain group that's maybe not being acknowledged the way they want to be, or something like that. So I had that same knee-jerk reaction and was like, well, it might be valuable to know if there was something going on there. I'm assuming the questions where it says, and this is such a small thing, but where it says company over and over and over, are we a company, or are we going to change that to town, or?
We'll change that.
Okay.
Yes.
That was minimal, but I just
say organization too.
See that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of those were confusing to me too, like it had town council for some things that I felt like were, I don't know. They didn't all seem to fit quite. And I can give like some direct feedback for the specific ones, because now that I'm looking at all of it, I can't see. I think my biggest takeaway was a lot of the questions are about process. And if processes are upheld, like have I been trained, like did I get the right training? And what I'm really looking for is that people want to come to work every day. Like how do they feel? And this is, I don't want it to get into, like there tends to be with these surveys a lot of like, do you feel like you have the tools you need to work? Do you, it's all these things that are like, cool, check, it can be glowing reviews for all the mechanical things about your job, but that doesn't mean that someone feels belonging. That doesn't mean that they feel that they are valued, that they want to come to work every day. And so for me, a lot of the leaning into this is more to understand the emotional threshold that all of our employees are existing in, so that we can make sure that we are not overburdening them and that we're moving in the right direction with taking care of them, so that we don't lose people. And I'm concerned because of the fatigue, and we just went through for almost more than an hour of like events, because of how much people are doing. And so I just want to make sure that the survey doesn't happen and we get to go, yay, everybody knows that there is a process. Because like we know that, it works. We know that part. I want to make sure that what we get from this is whatever we're able to adjust and address for employee satisfaction that isn't about the logistics of them doing their job. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that if I'm saying it the right way, or I have the right words, but some of the questions were like, the expected response to most of those is yes, and it's great. And so I would hate to spend the money and time and effort on this and get back everyone's happy and everything's great, because of the questions that we asked. So I just want to make sure the questions that we are asking, especially leaving some open space for people to share if they feel comfortable, in a way that is safe for them to express things that they would want to see improved, or just what this feels like for them.
Well, we do have the questions, like sometimes I think about quitting. Like my plan is to be at the organization 1 year from now. I hope to be working for this organization for many years. So that kind of gets to the
right. But if they say sometimes,
we're only doing the ones with the X's.
Yeah, we're not doing all, right. They're in
those
there.
ones had the X's.
Did they? Oh.
Yeah.
But if they answer, sometimes I feel like quitting and there's nothing open-ended, then what does that tell me? Like, it doesn't tell me anything. Then it makes me go, I have to find out from 70 people who feels like quitting, which is not helpful, right? And so I want to make sure that there's, the ability, if someone is compelled, because I expect most of this will be, everything is great and it's wonderful, but there may be some folks that want to say more, and I want to make sure they have the space to do that. And that they feel like we're hearing them, and that there's a process when the feedback comes. For the feedback mechanism isn't just that like, great, thanks for sharing. Now we're just going to keep doing things the same way, right? And so there should be an expectation from them as well that the feedback comes and that we make adjustments to meet them where they're at.
I mean, I think to your point, it all comes back to why are we doing the survey? And at least for me, the reason I want to see this is to know, you do a great job of retaining employees. I want to make sure that we continue to retain, because we've got an amazing staff that we're so fortunate to have. I want to make sure that if there's things that they don't feel valued, or they are overworked, or whatever the feelings are, I want to make sure we're capturing that so that we can continue to retain the staff that we have, and then build on that and make sure that we can be a great place to work. So to your point, just not process. I know my job. It's, are you happy at your job? Do you enjoy who you work with? Are there things that could be done better?
Like some of the questions, there's not really any questions about like work-life balance and
Yeah.
their own well-being and.
There is.
Do we have them marked as?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Where is that? Work-life balance.
Towards the top.
Town manager respects the importance of personal and family life. That one's selected. There were a couple other in, it's the green section there.
Good.
Needing, right?
But we could add, you know, like
Yeah.
some additional ones in that section.
I hate this spreadsheet. It's very hard for me to like see. I wish we could just see the ones that were marked.
I had that version. I
It's
thought
hard
we
for-
might want to pick some that I
Like,
didn't
I know,
pick, so.
it's good to see all of them, but I wish I could be like, show me only the ones with the X's on them. Because once I go over and I'm like, am I reading the right one? Am I not? I realize I read a couple of the wrong ones here.
But I think, like with any survey, we got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
We have no data points, so this first one may not give us all the information we want, but the next go around, we'll probably tweak the questions again. I think you'll just get a lot more data.
Is this going to be optional or mandatory?
I would assume optional. I'm not sure how to track the mandatory part without knowing exactly who submitted what, but.
We set a goal of 90%
Yeah.
participation.
Yeah.
So we're working towards, hey. Maybe provide.
Probably like.
A prize for
I have a few ideas
Yeah.
of how to
the
do
first
that
10
little.
people get $5.
Yeah.
Everything's great done.
Yeah, we have a all-staff meeting on the 25th, so if we can possibly have it by then, I can kind of incorporate that where I could get more participation that way. I'm optimistic that we'll get about 70%. We can do a couple different things. to incentivize
Did these guys
people.
have some metrics on what they usually get?
I think it was, like, with our sample size, maybe 49 or 50 people out of the 70 plus, so that would, and they'll help with lack of better words, marketing and getting it out there and that type of information. And they'll track and they'll let me know how many people completed it and.
I snicker because I've been parts of large corporations where I get bombarded with it. Complete the employee health survey. Complete the employee health survey. Like, no.
These guys, like, they'll stop bothering you if you complete it. Once you complete it, then you won't get the email. So, I like that, your point about, getting the information and doing something about it, because I just want to say, once you put a survey out there, you collect the information, it does more harm than good if we don't actually make any changes or take that information out there, right? We'll not get everyone participating next time if we're like, well, we didn't actually do anything, so.
But at the same time, we want to make sure that we have high enough participation that we can actually have some useful data.
Yeah,
Because if we
we're
only
just
have
at that
like
point.
10% participation, then it's like, what conclusions can you really draw from that?
And to your point, depending on what the feedback is, the fix might not be immediate. It might take a year because it requires additional funding, so it has to get, that's then on the organization, say, this is the feedback and we're gonna take action on these 3 things, and we think it's gonna take 9 months to a year because of budgets or whatever the circumstances are, so just at least folks know that, they've heard me and they're working on it.
That's why the compensation questions are always tricky. Because no one ever says, I'm getting paid exactly what I'm worth.
Right.
And that's sort of like, well, can't do much about it.
I think we can give them, I don't know if it's like 30 days or 60 days or whatever the range is, but we should be clear that we will, like, after the survey closes, that there will be a, like, you said this and now we are doing that, like, follow-up kind of, and just give some, like, high-level areas of, like, this is the trends that we saw, and so they should get the feedback of, it shouldn't just go and be like, thank you for your survey time and we'll do something over here. We really should be giving them like 2 or 3 specific like things that we're going to take action on because of the information that we got. So
And we should like be clear about that, you know, for them.
I think Nadine, you did a really nice job with calling down this really voluminous list. Because what we don't want to do is give people like a million questions and then they're not going to fill it out, right? Or it's going to take them like 3 hours to complete the survey, right? So you want it to actually be something that they can do relatively quickly, so they will actually do it. So thank you for that. I don't have any like. I think we really cover all the critical areas here. I'm happy to include some additional ones here, but I don't have any specific additional suggestions here in terms of what is not included. So
there was one section on here, and there's so many sections, my brain hurts, but it was about and it wasn't checked, but it was about, are there too many meetings? And I'm a little sensitive to the fact that we have these board meetings, everybody in staff has to do all this prep for these board meetings. Like, by nature of this organization, that we create a ton of work, and how do we make that better? Maybe it's like a giant open-ended question. Like, I don't know how to make that better yet, but there's got to be a way to make this government bureaucracy that we've created more efficient for the public.
I think that's why we're here.
Yeah,
I know that's why we're here, but I mean.
But it just feels like there's probably some optimization that can happen. I mean, we've been doing it the same way for 30 years, and it feels like there's got to be some tools to make this a little less cumbersome for staff. I mean, we're here, but how can we make this better? Like, and I don't know. I saw you didn't include any of those meeting questions because I know what the answers will be, and I don't know how to how to capitalize on that. Like, I know we have too many meetings by nature of this, but what can we? Are there some suggestions on how to streamline this?
I was worried to ask that question because then we would get the feedback and not be able to make a change, so.
Well, some of the things I do as far as meetings go, I mean, there's some city managers that require that the department has to be at every council meeting, no matter if they have something on the agenda.
Oh, yeah, that's.
Ew.
I know. I don't do that. I only ask them.
I don't want to be.
They have something on the agenda, otherwise they can have the night off.
Yeah.
The other thing we try to do is give staff comp time off. If they're 3 night meetings in a week, take Friday off or whatever. Don't have to use vacation and things like that. So we try, because we do have a lot of meetings.
Yeah.
Are people able to use that comp time? Like, I know sometimes it's tough for them to take vacation. Can they use the comp time? Like, are they actually doing it?
Yeah.
So mine's very small, but does everyone have access to be able to complete this?
I hope so. They do a format where you can take it on your phone.
Okay, cool.
So.
Just want to make sure
That's
it's
a good question.
accessible.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we send emails to like our field staff,
Yeah.
Public Works. They don't look at their emails.
No, I'm sure. That's why I want to make sure there's some other, not an asterisk, but it's more about, hey, this group might need a little extra time or whatever it is to be able to complete it. Yeah, hard copy, whatever it is.
Yeah. Is there anything we can do to help for higher participation?
I can't think of anything.
With lunch with the mayor, would that be an incentive?
Bring snacks out to the public works guys, be like, we're gonna have some breakfast
Nobody's gonna fill it
burritos
out.
while you fill out your survey, or.
000.
I mean,
Yeah, I would.
nobody wants to eat.
Breakfast burritos do help. That's what we do for budget screenings, ice cream, food. Food is usually
Santiago's
incentive.
generally
you're like,
the
I
PJs
need
and
you for like
Santiago's.
15-20 minutes, and I'm gonna
Crack
give you
Boba has a mobile
burritos.
tent, so.
And do raffles. If you turn it in by this time or this time, you get multiple tickets and incentivize people to take it.
Well, if you need any support, we're donated items for that kind of stuff. Let us know. I don't know what the rules are, but I'm happy to help.
I think we set the rules.
Yeah, if you need like 30 burritos, then.
Okay.
I really want them to know that we want to hear what they have to say, and it's important for us. So if whatever we can do to help them do that.
Well, I think what we want to communicate is that we value staff tremendously, more than we say it, right?
Yeah.
And this is one way to show that we actually do care, and we want to know what we're doing well and what we're not doing well and where we can improve. So the only way to know that is if people tell us. And So this is an easy opportunity for that to happen. So,
They know best what they need. We can look at it from the outside all day long, but that they feel safe to tell us what they need is the thing that I'm really, I hope that there's a bridge there, you know.
And there's a question for next year that says, were your things addressed from last year's
Yeah.
survey? So.
Yeah. And thank you for, I know this can be uncomfortable for leadership to, you know, do these things because even, you know, when you do your best, like everybody's not always happy. So just thanks for going through this.
so in terms of kind of next steps and like turnaround time on all this, when, like, so you got direction, green light here.
About 6 or 7 weeks, we should have it all completed, because it'll be about 2 weeks for them to finalize, get things going, 2 or 3 weeks for the survey, another 2 weeks or so to have everything wrapped up and put in a report.
All right, great.
In October, so we're hoping, end of October.
All right. So that'll be before we do reviews, right? So that'll be
And
helpful.
before we finalize the budget too.
Sounds like this would be after the budget.
Yeah,
The budget's the 13th.
October 13th is our approval date for the budget.
Somewhere in between all that burritos.
Yeah.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Nadine.
Thank you.
All right, on to our final agenda item, which is discussion of the north and south pool projects and construction schedules.
Like perfect time. They were listening or something.
Right.
So,
Sure,
Did
guys.
you see him sitting out there?
Leslie, Jordan, and Brandon.
Shoes off and his, yeah.
I can scoot over.
Best for last, right?
Yeah.
Indeed.
I'll kick us off. So we did have a memo attached to the work session, so hopefully you all saw that. I won't go too much detail, but we did send out, Matt sent an email last week about pushing North Pool back. The reason being, one, where we're at schedule-wise, and two, cost-wise. So we're still working on the value engineering options for North Pool. They're actively working on those now. We still are going to use AD Miller to get through this CMGC, so we've spent about $7,500 for that, so we're still going to get them to give us a final price to see where we're at after the value engineering, which will get us prepared to go into bid season next year with the North Pool. So the goal is to bid that in February, March timeframe, February, March timeframe to help us out with ordering the long lead items, which can take up to 4 months to get in. So that's North Pool.
And just real quick on the North Pool, you'll see the updated budget that you get tomorrow, I think, probably. We've increased the budget for the North Pool to 5.6 million, which includes design. It was at 5, so just to kind of align with what we think the costs are going to come in.
Because there's only so much you can actually value engineer out of.
And that would cover us with what AD Miller's current estimate is based on the value engineering we've done. So we're hoping if we do a design bid build process, which we'll do, that we'll get more competition and hopefully get a better price for the North Pool at the end of the day. But being conservative, I think makes a lot of sense. So then jumping into South Pool, which is the next step, we're planning to present a design contract on South Pool on 9/22. We're working with BRS. They gave us a preliminary scope. It was a little higher than we thought it should be, so we're working on some scope clarifications and negotiations with them. Might not have that till Thursday, so it might be a little late getting in the packet for Monday, but we're working through that with BRS now. The goal is to get South Pool design going and completed by late February, early March of next year. It would give us the option to bid on both at the same time, which I think is what we're going to be talking about tonight. And we included in the memo some specifics on the design of South Pool. Happy to get into those if you'd like to now. Or if you want to wait till the 22nd, we can do that too. But we included some pros and cons of doing both pools in 26 and 27 and walking through some of those. So when you look at the functionality of the pools in terms of mechanically, Leslie can speak to this better than me, but my understanding is South Pools were shaped than North Pool mechanically. And that's shown by some of our operational issues we've had over the last few years. I know last year we had the issues with the heating element that we spent some extra money on. We do need to get a new filter for South Pool, so we're actually going to expedite that design as part of the design process, so we can get that in and hopefully get what we need to serve the future pool design.
So get it in for this coming pool season, get the new filter in and installed, and that'll be the new filter moving forward.
To try to address some of those operational issues.
Like the skimmer, like around the pool, or
No,
just
the big filter. So
Filter,
that's the piece of equipment at South that is probably the most fragile right now. And I don't want to cross my fingers for a whole nother summer with that. And we already know basically what we need for the new filter. And we've got a tentative projection on cost to purchase that early and install it early.
So the idea is that the footprint for that filter in the new design wouldn't change. That would be the goal.
Well,
The location may.
But yeah.
The location may.
But
once
the
they have-
actual
but the actual
unit
piece
would
of
be
equipment.
reusable.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
It's big enough and
It's a really nice piece of equipment. The heavy duty, not, the product we have now is past its lifetime.
yeah. Okay.
I mean, what is the life cycle of the filter?
Not 20 years.
All right, that's all.
No, I mean,
So we haven't actually
typically,
replaced the filter in the entire 20 odd years.
we've repaired it a couple times, and that's part of the problem. Every time you unseal it and reseal it, you compromise it a little bit, but, yeah.
It's not like your Brita filter where every 6 months you throw it.
Yeah.
How much does a filter for a municipal pool cost?
It's really all over the board, depending on the size of the pool and how many filters you have. Typically a sand filter, which is what we have in there now, is pretty straightforward, not horribly expensive. What we're looking at for both North and South Pool is a little bit of an upgrade. It's called a regenerative filter, so it has a lot of water savings. You save about, I don't know, thousands and thousands of gallons, not having to backwash all that water down the drain. So,
Is it like 50,000, 100,000?
for the new filter, to estimated between what they say 170 and
They said 190 to 240
190 to 240 on that one.
for the filter system.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the design and the installation of it.
And it does come with a pump as well, so it needs a different size pump. So, but then that would
And
all
we don't have concerns that it'll be damaged in any way between like installing it and then redoing the pool.
It's a pretty sturdy piece of equipment. I think it's made out of steel. So.
It's not like one of those things where you install it once and then you gotta get a new one kind of thing.
You contaminated it?
I don't think that's a concern from our design firm at all. And it'll be money then that we'll not have to spend as part of the.
So would that come out of the CTF fund for like 2026, and then the capital fund would basically be over and above? Okay, yeah, I'm all for it.
All right. So,
Go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, like, do you want to talk about the sequence of like the what we're talking about for like South Pool design and or what we're gonna talk about on the 22nd? I guess my concern is like, the design for the North Pole took longer than we expected, and so like I think that I'm all for like moving in tandem if possible. I just think that it's pretty optimistic for us to think that like we can actually, execute on and agree on exactly what the design's going to be like. We'll get the feedback from the community, and get it all kind of ready to go at the same time. So like I wouldn't want anything related to the South Pool to somehow compromise our ability to execute on North Pole.
And we're in 100% agreement. I mean, I think what we'd like to do is continue forward with the South Pool design. We don't have to make the decision tonight if we want to bid them both at the same time. We can do that in February, March when it comes time to bid them. If the South Pool is lagging, what we talked about is we can punt on the south pool and say, hey, it's not happening this year, it's lagging, we're not going to hold the north pool design and that equipment order up because the south pool design is lagging. And those are decisions we can make as we go through the design process. But we agree 100%. I mean, the north pool is going to be well ahead of the south pool, and that we're finalizing design in October of this year is our goal, where south pool will be more February, March of next year. There's really no benefit to bidding the north pool in October because of the lead time of the equipment. It's 4 months. You could actually see some contractors could build in some risk associated with that, like, hey, we don't know what pricing is going to be 6 months from now, so we're going to build in that cost into our bid tab. So we really don't see a benefit of bidding the north pool in October versus early spring of next year. So we can get more information as we go about South Pool, but we agree 100%. We don't want South Pool to be dragging down North Pool. There is delays with it.
I also talked to AD Miller about the schedules that I put together for you guys here, and they did clarify, I have the 120 days for the procuring the long lead items and getting those, so that is like the filter, the Excel stuff. We have it showing as we would have those in August of 26. That's a pretty big buffer because really a lot of those items aren't needed until like March, April. So even if the design was delayed for a month, there's still so much buffer built into the schedule for the long lead items that we would still be okay.
I think there's a lot of benefit to trying to do both projects at once. And I was looking at the design part of the South Pool and the two different schedules, because when the combined schedule, we're giving ourselves from October till the end of February for doing the design, on the South Pool, and then starting construction in 26. But on the let's wait till 27, we should have already started the design work, and it has to end in January. I'm sorry, that's 2027. I can't read. I'm sorry. I'm going to stop talking right now. Okay. But where I was going is, we're giving ourselves the same 6-month period, whether it's this year, sure, get South Pool next year, or 6 months next year. I feel like we got a lot of feedback from the North Pool, and what we're talking about for the South Pool is not the same level of tear down and redo so many things. It's a run out slide, it's a new mushroom, and it's, fix a wading pool.
Yeah, but we haven't even had like the conversation about like, do we want to keep the existing shell? Like, we haven't had that conversation about
Yeah.
do we want to scrap it and start from scratch? I mean, obviously, like that's a different budget question, and like I'm sure, like
I think the budget numbers
Jordan just had a heart attack.
I know, I could feel her eyes got like twice the size that they were.
Just trying to fit it within 4 million, and you just made it like 12.
But the point is, we haven't talked about it, right? So like I think like all of those things like need to happen in a notice meeting, and need to have the opportunity for like the community to weigh in, and so like just knowing the way that things happen, like I just have concerns about us actually being able to get to the point where we're all on board with like everything that needs to happen in order for us to execute simultaneously with the North Pool, and like, does the contractor have like sufficient contractors that can actually do the work at the same time? Like,
They'll subcontract it. I think you get benefit with one bill, I think. I might be wrong.
And if we did bid them both together, what we would recommend is bidding them both, where you could bid one or the other or both. And if there's both, we'd ask for what that cost savings is of doing both at the same time. Because you're right, there are contractors had certain size crews, so there could be some risk there. But that would be information we would have at the time of bidding. So we'd say, hey, we're saving $250,000 by giving one contractor both, and their schedule shows they can do that. Or hey, we're only saving $20,000 giving it to both. Let's not take that risk. Let's split it up or something.
Yeah. I mean, my personal opinion on this is like, I'm fine like proceeding with staff's recommendation, and like in an ideal world we move forward and execute on both at the same time. But so long as we have that ability to pull the ripcord and bail on the South Pole and just execute on the North Pole, because I don't want to have a situation where all of a sudden we've got 2 poles under construction, and then we've got very angry kids and parents because neither pool is ready come opening of summer of 2027. So that would be like a disaster.
We agree.
We've got one down.
So if we're not doing South Pool until 27, because I can now read, beyond the filter media replacement, that we'd be doing right now for South Pool, is there anything else that we need to do to bootstrap South Pool for 2 years?
I think we're in pretty good shape. They did some pretty significant repairs on the heaters this year. You never know sometimes when something's going to fail, but right now that seems like our weakest link and what we've had concerns with. Every year we kind of push the project out. Everything gets a year older. So.
The other element in what Jeff sent today was balancing the budget. Increasing the North Pool 500,000 actually made it difficult to balance it, so I think if the draft budget he's going to send shows it happening in 27, 28 with the South Pool to make the budgets balanced, because we're about $300,000 off from being able to do both in that sales tax fund with the 5.5 million. Again, we think the 5.5 might be conservative since we're going to do a competitive bid process. Just full disclosure, the budget you get tomorrow is going to say 27, 28 to make the numbers work, so they don't be like, hey, we left that conversation.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
Yeah, there's things to move around. It's about 300K off.
Right, yeah. And we have reserve funds too.
And that's all within the CIP tax fund, enterprise fund.
I was going to say, what's our contingency if we think it's going to be 5.5, but the market's like, nope, 6.2.
The benefit is we are getting AD Miller with this CMGC is going to give us a detailed breakdown once we finish the value engineering. So we're going to have in the hand what their bid would be today. Obviously it could go up by March, but we're also not getting a competitive bid because we're not getting others sourced. And I think when we bid the CMGC, we had like
9 or 11
contractors that showed interest in it. So there's clearly a market for full construction right now. We're hoping that competitive process might result in better pricing.
Okay. Well, I think we need to do some good outreach to the community and let people know that we're not moving forward on North Pool this year. Just because we passed the ballot measure and sold it that it was going to happen this year, so people were already expecting with like Superior Elementary to have. I'm sure the parents now are happy that they can drop their kids off in the parking lot and not have that inconvenience. But yeah.
I was going to actually ask about that. So that's what you sent me is because I'm going to be meeting with the school next week, and I just want to be able to let them know that the sidewalk is planned for around the parking lot. But that's it, like, right? No changes to the parking lot, no, just a couple sidewalk additions so the kids can get out of the traffic when they're getting out of the cars.
We got a budget number Thursday of last week from the contractor, so we're getting a detailed estimate. This is the concrete contractor from last year that was a little better. Looks like it's going to be over 50, so we'll have to come to council, but we're going to get that final number and hopefully get on the agenda for the 13th of October.
So part of the pool project was there's been a lot of complaints from parents about they drop off kids for Superior Elementary at the North Pool parking lot, and the kids, there's no sidewalks for them to walk on, so the kids are just crossing and they're all over the place. And so as part of the pool remodel was to put in some sidewalks to keep the kids out of crossing in that street. And so I asked if that was possible for them to get it done outside of this project, and so that they're looking at numbers for that. So we'll see if it makes sense, but I'm on the Superior, no, that's not what it's called, School Accountability Council, thank you, SAC. And we meet next week, so I just want to give them an update and let them know that we're trying to do that, but that nothing's been decided yet.
So we're talking about like on the south and the west of the parking lot?
Like right there.
Like basically put a path up there. Nice.
Yeah, because now the kids.
Because there's this path that crosses over here.
But there's no sidewalks
But
anywhere.
no sidewalk to get from the parking
Where
lot.
the bridge is, there's like, it's just, you walk across.
It's just, it ends right there, so.
It wasn't my idea.
Well, and I mean, and this is
Good
just
idea,
the
though.
natural change at SES, because there used to be a bus servicing everybody north of Rock Creek. Now everybody's walking or driving. And we're taking e-bikes. Or taking, well, the e-bikes would be good because it doesn't hurt the traffic in that one instance. But like,
But they're under
yeah,
10, so.
Wildflower Park has a drop off for Eldo, which SES doesn't really have that. So that's what everyone's certainly using it for. I mean, it totally makes sense to have some easier ways to get in and out, but it's just not going to be the same as Wildflower.
Somebody, a student got hit by somebody at the school, which kind of really, like, he was fine and it was like everything was okay, but it increased everybody's concerns about where kids are walking all over the place without any sidewalk access. So I just appreciate you guys extracting that from everything and trying to get it done earlier. And if it makes sense, then we should do that.
All right, so the plan is we're going to be doing some sidewalk work in the interim in the parking lot by the North Pool and the tennis courts. We're going to move forward with the design of the South Pool. We're going to bid out the plan is to agree on a design, bid out both in February, March, in order to execute on both. In the event that South Pool is not ready, we will punt on that one, execute on North Pool next summer, and then absolute latest do the South Pool the year following.
Okay.
All right, and in terms of the design for the South Pool, the plan is to have that on the agenda for 22nd. Is that the contract? Is that the actual, that's not the actual design, that's the contract.
Contract for the design.
Contract for the design, and then, so we're kind of targeting when to actually like agree on the design?
Yeah, so we highlighted in the memo the high-level design elements our goal is for the South Pool, and you're happy to talk about that now, or happy to talk about the 22nd. We won't have any design drawings on the 22nd. I think we have some very rough sketches. But yeah, then the goal would be probably, what, November, December?
Yeah, I think by November, we would at least have like the schematic design for you guys to look at, and then it would further develop, and we'd just come back for approvals after that.
Community input meetings over the winter time, basically.
We've pretty much done a lot of the community, we did the community input together.
Yeah, okay. Well, so this is incorporating that feedback into this. Yeah. Okay. And are we anticipating going back out to the community saying, we heard you and this is what we've come up with, options 1 and 2, which do you prefer? Or is that going to be a more truncated? Just give
I
it
think when we do that, we start jeopardizing that timeline a little bit.
I think we could squeeze in a meeting with Park though, right? Okay.
We can definitely get them.
Okay, yeah, I really do value their input. I think they've been really helpful with the North Pool. Just a question on the schedule that Mark laid out, and obviously I don't build any pools, but is 4 months enough for the long lead items? Because, I'm asking this because in my regular life, because of tariffs, everything's like in the air, and I don't know where pool stuff is sourced from. Because I know with playground equipment, we've got like 9 months to get playground equipment, and there's a slide on here. Is it like infinite long for a slide, or is it shorter for a playground slide, or I'm sorry, a pool slide versus something else?
I mean, I think most of our supply companies are US sourced that I'm aware of at this point. Okay. But I think that the design firm was pretty confident, and I think AD Miller as well, that they could get things in that 16-week time frame.
Yeah, they said 120 days was their conservative estimate.
Wow. Okay.
So in the current kind of design summary, like the idea of the slide with the run out, would that replace the slide that we have currently? Yes. So there wouldn't be a slide that goes into the pool, there would just be a slide with the run out?
Unless the preference is to have a slide that goes into the pool.
Everybody wants a slide.
I mean, everybody loves a slide into the pool.
All I heard people complain about the slide going into the pool and the wasted space because of where the pool.
That's the people who don't like the slide.
Yeah, but the kids that are on the slide like it.
That's exactly right.
They throw things to each other too.
But we don't care what the kids think.
I mean, I think that's an important decision because that's a completely different design.
Yeah.
Whether we do
And
the
library.
run out or if we just replace the slide we have now, because it's fairly old and antiquated, needs to be replaced, but we could put another drop, what they call a drop slide in.
Yeah.
Versus
Because when
the
we were
run-out
talking about the
slide.
North Pole, like putting that slide in, like there isn't a slide at the North Pole, so we'd be adding an amenity that doesn't exist. And we were always talking about the idea of being careful about like removing the things that are already there that people like and expect. And if you change it, then that's when you get pushback from the community. So, if we replace that slide with a run out, there are going to be some people out there that are going to say, I really miss the slide that we had previously. But if we just keep what we have there, then maybe we're not capitalizing on the things that, people really want, which is like a bigger slide and, the bells and whistles.
I think that's a
So
valid question.
We had that same conversation earlier today.
We did.
And we were kind of leaning toward the drop-in slide for that very reason, because we feel like it is popular. There's also some cost savings of doing that versus building a separate spot, like both plumbing wise and pool deck wise.
It also changes like the useful space of the pool because, right now you've got the roped off section where the lifeguards yell at the kids for swimming, where the slides dump it out, right? So like now if you don't have a slide dump it out there, you have more space. You have a deep pool. You can have some water polo games over there.
I think that from the conversations I remember with the community engagement, that was a big selling point for the run out is because you've got that wasted space against the fence there right behind the slide that nobody's really using. And then you've got the wasted space in the pool where you have to keep that clear for people dumping into it. And so moving the slide outside of the pool to where it's the run out, you're using the wasted space and then allowing more people to play on that side of the pool. But then, to your point, what's the cost difference?
Some kids can't use the drop in either, because if they can't swim well
Yeah.
enough to like go and get dumped into the water, then they can't use the slide.
A lot of parents go with their kids on it also too, and kids go down with floaties.
Does it change staffing too? Like, isn't the slide out, the run out, like, doesn't require the lifeguard?
That's right, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does require a person at the top and the bottom, I believe. I think so.
Or I thought it was less.
Maybe it
because they
was.
didn't have to watch the water, like they weren't landing in water, so they didn't have to. I feel like they said there was like, they didn't require a lifeguard because of. Anyway.
We'll get back to you on that.
Yeah.
And then there was also the discussion at the North Pole about having a hot tub, right? Which we said no to at North Pole, and the recommendation is for no hot tub here too, but that's also just like an amenity that we heard at least some people in the community wanting, so we need to, have that discussion. So, I think that there are some of these design elements that we're not, I think, ready to talk about tonight, that we're going to need to really think through that are going to be difficult calls to make, from a budget perspective, from a making people happy perspective, from a complicating the design perspective. That, hence, I have my concerns about us actually
Timeline?
agreeing on everything in time to execute simultaneously with the North Pole, but maybe we can.
What are we gonna do when we can't talk about pools?
Roads.
E-bikes.
There's no, this is kind of unrelated, and I don't see any issues, but if we're tearing up all Rock Creek Parkway, there's no impact to the North Pool reconstruction. Because one should be done before the other one starts, right? Like Rock Creek Parkway should be done before school starts, and then the pool starts like right after that.
I don't see any major concerns. I mean, we'll have Rock Creek Parkway down to one lane, but we're gonna keep access open best we can.
It's not like we're moving cranes and stuff for the pool, so.
Okay.
All right, well, I think we have a general plan that we can continue to massage and try to work towards an ambitious goal. let's see if we can do it. All right, well, thank you,
Thank you. Thank you.
team. Appreciate it. And we're on to our other items issue. Anybody have any other items? Jason, you've been quiet tonight.
I'm good, man.
All right. Well,
It's a good one.
Yeah.
Supposedly a
Good
long
work, team.
agenda was,
all right.
Good
We're
job.
adjourned, 9:30.
it's awesome. Good job.
All right.